Yo, what is going on, family? Dope Dynamics. Another Wednesday. More hot topics, things to get into. Sorry for the late start, everyone. We were waiting for our good friend and sister, Davinci, but we figured we can't keep people waiting much longer, so we're just going to get it cracking. And when she jumps on, we will welcome her with open arms. I see since he's feeling this stock loop from StreamYard. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing great, man. I am doing great.
How's your Wednesday going, Bex?
Uh, it's going.
It's one of those days, huh? The energy is low, the conflict is high, passive aggressiveness is abound, but we still got to do the show, be professionals. So crazy shit going on in the world, man. Countries are heading to NATO, right? Food shortages in certain places, mass shootings happening, police officers too terrified to do their jobs, allegedly. But most importantly, Amber Heard lost the case. So we're talking about Amber Heard. We're talking about breadcrumbing. Elon Musk demands that those lazy SOBs get out their computers in their pajamas and come back to work. Like Americans. What do y'all want to start with, man?
I feel like we haven't got Bex's topic in a few weeks. I feel like we might as well just jump straight into hers.
Yeah, let's get into Bex's, man. Let's get into Bex. Let me pull up your article because I read it, Bex, and this is quite interesting, actually. Let me share the screen and shout out to anyone catching the replay here on YouTube or Twitch. Remember, when you enter the room, to hit like. Like the stream, help a family out. You know what I'm saying, on YouTube, and when you share it, subscribe to the channel. Let's get this up.
Before we go into my topic, I just want to give a quick shout out to my sci-fi princess. Her name's Moses Ingram. For those of you who don't know who she is a talented Black young woman, and she just landed a role in the new Star Wars series or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, she's getting like a lot of like evil, hateful, racist comments like sent to her in her inbox on Instagram. And she just recently posted a video not too long ago, and you can tell that she's trying to stay strong and like hold it together or whatever, but she's clearly hurting. And I just want to like give a quick shout out to her and tell her, us blurs got your back, sis. Strong or whatever. And her Instagram is _Moses Ingram. So if any of you blurs, nerds, Star Wars fans want to slide over to her page and give her some support, I'm pretty sure she'll appreciate that.
Yo, actually, let's after we talk about your topic, let's talk about that a little bit, because that's it's always interesting to me when nerds react poorly. Now, I have some critiques on her physically in the show, but that's got nothing to do with her race. We'll get into that. Roll us out, Bex. We're talking about what is breadcrumbing. What is it? What's going on here?
Okay, so my topic for tonight is breadcrumbing. For those of you who don't know, breadcrumbing is basically when someone isn't interested like in seeing you again. This is one of like the dating games that people play. This person isn't interested in seeing you again, but instead of this person just saying straight up like, okay, I don't want to fuck with you anymore, they kind of like give you these breadcrumbs to like lead you along or whatever, and to like keep you around. Some people may argue that like breadcrumbing is much worse than ghosting, because ghosting is like you're basically taking like the coward's way out with ghosting. And eventually when you ghost a person, that person is going to realize like, okay, they're not coming back. But with breadcrumbing, it's like a mind game. Like an evil mind game, and it's almost like a slow death, I guess. But yeah, I'll be the first to admit that I am guilty of breadcrumbing. I don't know if I'm the only one. Are you guys guilty of breadcrumbing, or am I the toxic one, the only toxic one?
So you know what? Well, let me read it here. What is bread? Breadcrumbing is an all too common form of manipulation that happens in the dating world, especially with the rise of online and app-centric dating. The Macmillan Dictionary describes it as the activity of sending brief, sporadic messages, digital morsels such as short text messages, Facebook posts, or Instagram likes, which indicate that you like someone when in reality you're unlikely to meet up with them ever again. Let alone pursue a full-blown relationship with them. Sometimes referred to as Hansel and Greteling, the term is derived from the idea of leaving behind a trail of breadcrumbs for someone to find what they're looking for, much like in a children's story. Oh my goodness.
Did you have to be that dramatic while you were reading?
Yes, sinister in nature, because I didn't know there was a name for this behavior. And you know what? I think I was yes, I'll say I'm not entirely sure, but I'll just go ahead and give a hard yes. I have done something like this before where it's just like, oh, moving on. No, you don't like. Oh, really enjoyed those pictures on your vacay. Hope you and your new boyfriend are getting along well. That's called dirty macking, no. But yeah, I've done this before, but I've had it done to me more often than I've done it to anyone else. So that kind of washes everything out.
What?
I'll unpack that later. What about you, Cincy?
I mean, I've probably done this on accident to people. I know I've had it. Yeah, exactly what Manta said, by the way, right there. I know I've had it done to me. Honestly, I just thought breadcrumbing was how we found our way back to somewhere. I do this shit in the video games all the time. I don't know if this deserves a word. Like when I read this article, there was literally one thing that resonated with me. So I don't know, man. And Bex, I actually think it's less cowardly to ghost somebody. It's way more efficient, involves way less feelings. Just be straightforward with them.
See, okay, let me not make this about me, man, because I have an issue with the ghosting thing only because it's like, why ghost a person? Why not just say, nah, this ain't gonna work?
I mean, yeah, I can feel that, but if you're gonna pick one of two options between ghosting somebody or breadcrumbing, I mean, this seems like a way more. You're playing with people's emotions when you do this. I don't think you're playing with their emotions so much when you just ghost them.
Yeah, but you're playing with your safety. You do it to the wrong person. It's like, you think you can quit me? They show up to the house, like Martin said, crazy, deranged, fucking sweats at your job, screaming at you with a bonnet on. I mean, with Bex, the real question is, have you done it before? Because this is a notorious woman behavior, I'll have to say right off the bat.
Wow, really? I said yes, I am guilty of it. I've done it plenty of times.
Give us a for instance.
I've just done it recently, and I don't do it to like people I know very well. I usually do it to like people I probably just met, like once or twice, and I'm just trying to like keep them in the roster just in case I get bored or whatever. Don't shake your head at me, Cincy. I'm guilty. It's fine. I'll admit it.
I mean, I think at a certain point, hey, for anyone in the chat, if you're in here on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button over there, and I dropped the link if anyone's interested in going to check the article out themselves. I mean, I think at a certain point, what's up, Lainey? We're talking about breadcrumbing. Click the link. It's an interesting topic. Leading a person on by sending them subliminal messages on Facebook, liking a post every other week, or maybe just let them see that you viewed something on their page, or go to one of their reels on Instagram and just watch. Don't like. Just watch their reels. So you did this to someone recently, Bex. What did this person do to you that you would do such a horrible thing?
They didn't do anything.
It's
It's not them. It's me. It's me. Okay.
This is toxic behavior right here.
I'm aware of what it is.
You know what? On the whole list, the thing that I probably most resonated, like, yeah, this does suck, is when someone asks you a question and you go into detail and all that, and they literally hit you back with like one word response or just something extremely dry. Like, all right, so why'd you even ask me the question? Like.
In all honesty, man, like, all right, I'm gonna try to get my energy level up right here. The reason I believe that people do this is not because they want to keep their options open, but because they have an inherent need to make sure that people cannot move on. Like, it's not about keeping their options open. It's to the point of like, oh, I just can't stand the thought of you, not being at either my beckon and my whim, or you going on and doing something else with someone else. And that's what I'm saying. I've had this done to me multiple times, and like any sucker ass motherfucker in his early 20s, I fell for it every time. I'm like, almost in a decent relationship, and then she's like, "Sup?" And I'm like, "Get off me, woman! I gotta go back to her." She's finally figured out her ways. She's fixed herself. You know what I'm saying? It's entirely toxic and manipulative. But I think everyone does it to a certain extent. Like, we all just admitted up here. I know Cincy's not going to be brave enough to give us example of when he's been breadcrumbing, but I notice he's quiet. And I like your hoodie, by the way, brother. It's very nice.
I appreciate it. Forgot to turn the AC off before I went to work today, so I came back and it's like an ice cube in my house right now.
And also, since he apparently doesn't care about the dolphins or the environment, it's like the hell with those damn fish.
There's plenty of crabs in the bottom of the
ocean. Yeah, and dolphins assault other fish, so they don't need our protection anymore. The truth is out about them. So, what about you? Since you got it, for instance, you ever done this type of thing, or do you just think this is kind of like?
No, I think this is too much, and I like I said, and I know I'm pretty sure Bex knows this. I just prefer to ghost you, to be honest. Like, I'm not gonna keep leading you on something. It's too much work. That's too much energy on my end.
So for all you people waiting for breadcrumbs with Sensi, he just literally told you, yeah, I got enough energy to get through my day and not enough energy to string your dumb ass. Lainey says, I'm breadcrumbed all the time. Oh, Lainey, I'm sorry about that, man. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Now, what do you think about this actually replacing gaslighting? Because I actually think this kind of goes hand in hand with gaslighting, right? I did a show with DaVinci not too long ago where we were talking about that phenomenon and the strict definition of making someone feel as if though their reality is in question, or imposing false narratives on them and then making them believe that they did these things. You're the victimizer, but you got them agreeing to being the victim. Do you really think this can replace gaslighting?
I think they're both like tactics of like manipulation. So for the most part, yeah, I think they go hand in hand, to be honest.
I don't, man. I honestly don't see anything about this breadcrumbing thing that is nearly the same level of toxicity as actually gaslighting someone. I mean, because when you're gaslighting someone, like, you're purposely manipulating them. I don't think when you breadcrumb them, like, at least the way this article broke it down, you're doing that. Honestly, if you're being breadcrumb, you got to take accountability at some point. Like, why are you even holding on? Why does like mean that much? Why does one random text mean enough for it to have any impact on your life? I mean, in gaslighting, someone's actively, giving you attention. Um, that's not, negative attention, just to manipulate your feeling.
Goddamn, Mike. And here's the crazy thing. So when you bring that up, why give the attention? So I'm just gonna speak from my personal experience, man. I have not always been this well put together man here, right? There have been ebbs and lows, man. I've been broken down and I've broke people down. I think when I was doing this, I think when this was happening to me, I should say, I was so attached to the relationship at that point, man, that any affection, even when I knew it was dead gone, and I never thought I would be this type of person, right? I was just hanging on to it. You know what I'm saying? The same way a crackhead is scraping that pipe for that last hit and that residue. I'm scraping, and it's like, oh man, maybe there is something there, and there isn't something there. And the crazy thing about it is, my voice of reason would be like, are you an idiot? But like, are you an idiot? Does a like release enough endorphins? I can tell you one time, man, that this chick had me so spun out, or I allowed myself to be so spun out or spin myself out for it so much that I would turn my phone off. Like, I would post something and hope she would comment. And when it didn't happen in a timely fashion, I would literally turn my phone off and like put my phone away for like hours at a time and come back and turn it back on, see if it was there, because it was too much to have the phone on me and to keep looking. And then when I would turn it on finally that last time, after turning it on and off for 7 times in the same day, and I finally see she put like a smiley face on my comment. Well, this is before the smiley face, it's like a like. I would just get this rush of endorphins and validations. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, it was crazy. And I had to go to therapy, get on antidepressants to get over that shit, man. It's real, but I agree with Cincy. I put myself in that situation, right? The writing was as clear as it possibly could be. Or you don't agree, Bex? You're like, no, breadcrumbing be damned. It's like they the devil.
I get it. I understand. People will only do what you allow them to do, and you have to tell people how to treat you, and you have to basically know your worth at the end of the day. And I think a lot of people just don't know their worth, so they just let people do whatever they want to do to them.
Man, today is one of those days that's just weird, man. People are making weird. Never mind. I just looked over to the left. I got a Discord message, and I was like, I shouldn't have read that shit. I don't know. So it's strange, man, because like even talking about this is kind of uncomfortable, because I think for it to be like a really robust conversation, you got to be willing to look at it from both sides of the table. You know what I'm saying? And the hardest part is putting yourself in someone's shoes when this has happened. Like when I've done this to someone, man, I don't know how aware I was that I was doing it. Sometimes, other times, I just thought that I was like, oh shit, man. We had a bad falling out. This self-help post you posted that's potentially about me is very, very fucking telling and in depth. I should do something, and I hit that like button, and the next thing you know, it's followed up with a text, and I'm like, damn. I didn't start the cycle. I'll tell you this much though. The fact that someone had the courage to write about this, and when I say courage, I know it's people are gonna be like, what courage does it take to write a blog? Usually when someone writes about this, they're writing from a place of experience, man. And I wonder if the author was the author doing this to someone, or the receiving end.
This is hurt behavior right here.
It was about to say, that got hurt. It is giving victim energy, so yeah.
I mean, the article blamed it on, didn't necessarily blame it on, but gave note to it happening with the rise of dating apps, and I'm presumably that falls in the category of social media. So is this a modern thing? I mean, were people gaslighting before cell phones? I mean, not gaslighting, but breadcrumbing before I mean, because you got to put in a lot of energy to breadcrumb somebody before his cell phone and the internet existed.
You running by just yeah, I don't even know how that plays out before the cell phone. What do you take out half their trash or something like that?
You know, like you got to leave your bike, right across the street so they know you're in the area, but you don't actually come and knock on their door or something.
Oh my goodness. D, let me drop. Welcome in, my sister. Let me drop the article. And breadcrumbing, D, it is literally what it sounds like. It is a new phenomenon. Well, not new, but it's a behavior which in people who are not interested with someone will leave breadcrumbs and to have them follow or stay interested. So an example of that would be, liking another person's post, leaving a heart emoji, maybe sending them little prayer hands on something insightful that they said. Here's the crazy thing now. Here's the, if we're going to spice this topic up, do both sexes share in the culpability of this? Or is this just, who do you think predominantly does this more? Because I think women are more inclined. I have no data. This is just my personal opinion. I think women are more inclined to do this for a plethora of different reasons. Safety being one of them, and because women don't know how. Oh no, don't rest on that victory. Because women don't know. A lot of women don't know how to disengage properly, and then thirdly, primarily, women don't like to see people get over them, right? And I would have to do a robust study on, but I think I can get enough women to admit that when he's starting to move on, because he used to simp over you, but when he starts to move on, it's like y'all come back with the fangs. I just don't think the guys have the wherewithal to do this behavior the way it should be done properly, or the way it's described in the article.
I agree with the first two reasons. I am not admitting to that last one.
You know what? I think that women, like you said, probably do it for more plethora of reasons. If a man is gaslighting you, it's probably just because he's waiting for that one time that you're going to be like, yep, I'm coming over at 2 a.m. Like, we're going to be honest. Nobody's putting that much fucking effort in for no reason.
That's what I'm saying, Lainey. It's like I'm not assigning it as something that is solely that something women do, but I'm a guy that has spent a lot of time around women. I grew up around women. I have a lot of female friends, and they put me on to a lot of game in regards to the way women maneuver. And that's why Bex gets so angry at me, because she's like, someone gave this dude the game, and I'm like, yo, Bex got so angry at me one time since she was like, well, whatever, mother. Because I put on the game. Now I agree with Cincy. Like when guys, Lainey says guys are heartless. It's true, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's guys can be very heartless, but this takes a lot of attention. Now, if a guy does this, I think that when guys breadcrumb, it's a little different, right? They send a text message, they send a message, they start referring to you as one of the most amazing people they've ever shared space with. Really deep shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you wake up, you look at your old lady's Facebook page, and it's like, man, you were just a diamond in the rough. And I'm like, what the what is this dude talking about? Does that resonate with anyone? I think it's true, man. These silver-tongued fools out here.
This is just the tip of the iceberg, though. Like, this is just one of the games that people play while they're dating. So there is a few more that I will put all on you guys, but we can talk about that later.
No, why wait?
Let's talk about it right now since you brought it up.
One of them is that's like failing to determine like what the relationship is. I think that is more of a guy thing.
Failing to determine what the relationship is. Like, we don't recognize when y'all are playing us, or we can't determine what we want you to know about the relationship.
What the relationship is. What are we?
The status.
She asks, what are we? And then I feel like guys just be like, I don't know. Like, and it's like 6 months into the fucking relationship.
Well, Bex, was he eating a tasty burrito from Chipotle when you asked him that question? Because it's, I got to focus on one thing at a time. What are we? I'll tell you where we are. We are in public right now eating burritos.
So now you can't multitask? You can't multitask now?
Hey, that's what all the female magazines say. It says men can't multitask. Women are the superior multitask. I just lean into the stereotype. If
Right.
a woman asks me a confusing question, I pretend like I'm drowning on my own spit. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't multitask. When I tried to swallow that spit, I forgot how to breathe at the same time, and I can't answer that question.
Isn't that a
shit.
confusing question though?
No, it isn't. It isn't a confusing question at all. I'll let Cincy take this one.
I want to answer this question with another question. Is it possible that this isn't even real? Like, could someone have just made this up because they thought someone liked them? Yeah, I mean,
Ooh.
like, think about it. And specifically in the article, talking about digital things. So sending a brief text message or a like on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Like, are we automatically equating that behavior to someone actually being interested in you?
Yes. Everything is measured in social media capital now, my brothers. When you guys don't like my post on Instagram, I instantly think, man, Cincy and Bex ain't shit, man. They don't love me, man. Forget all that nice shit they said about me last night and calling me their brother. I put this post up. It's been up for 12 hours. They ain't liked it yet.
So yeah, but that's we're talking about that's friend level stuff. Okay, we're talking about if someone likes my post, I'm not like, oh, they're trying to get my draws. Maybe I should ask them to go on a date or something like that. Like,
A lot of people do think like that though.
well, that's what I'm saying. Is if they're thinking like that, then this doesn't actually exist anywhere except in their head.
Mantis tapping in with some slide shit because Steve is mad sensitive. Yeah, I've always said this, Mantis. Every thug on this planet is sensitive. I don't care how hard they pretend to be. Only a thug is sensitive enough to kill you over your sneakers, right? That's some sensitive behavior right there. It's beta behavior. I'm a mad beta.
Because I mean, when you got me thinking about this, if this is how people think, like, then I'm just not liking nobody's stuff on Facebook. I'm not checking in on nobody through text message. Because who's gonna take it the wrong way?
D Love's trying to keep us on task here. Beck's asking, how come men have a hard time labeling
Thank you,
the
Dee. And
relationship?
since you were supposed to answer that question, you
Oh yeah,
said
okay. So why are we not labeling the relationship? First and foremost, in my experience, in my humble lifetime, that has nothing to do with men. That's women who create a relationship in their head and create a status. So when you ask me if I'm in or what are we, in your head, you guys already go together. I never asked you out. So what are we? Because I'm not answering that question until you just admit what you really wanted to say is that we go together. Because that's
why
not a
can't you
question. That's you stating that we're something.
so why can't you just give the answer? If it's nothing, it's nothing.
No,
So why can't
because
you just say
because you
that it's
have to
nothing?
play dumb because it's a dumb question. You know what? If why couldn't you just say, "Hey, babe, we go together now," instead of asking that question, which is clearly, yeah, we go together, but I want you to say it out loud.
So you would rather for a girl to be like, okay, Cincy, we're together now.
No, I mean I can ask you, but if I don't ask you out, then why are you asking me that question? If I don't ask you, you know, do you want to make this something real? Do you want to yada yada yada? Why would you ask that question?
I mean, I don't think people are just asking that question for no reason.
I mean, I'm asking you. I mean, if they're not asking it for no reason, what's the reason?
Because people want to know.
Well, okay. Well, if we're relying on the man to provide our status, then he'll let you know when he's ready to change that status.
Right. And that's you just move on, sis, because that's when you just go on to the next.
Whenever a woman has asked me this question, and this is me just keeping a buck, I've always said the same thing to each of them. I'm like, well, what do you want us to be? And then we kind of like, then we kind of go through it, because you can't ask me a question like that and then I'd be like, all right, well, let's get gully with it. How many people are you seeing besides me? Right? Did this question come up because I am the best option of the three cats that you're rotating through? Like
Okay.
and I'm not putting it out on women. I'm just saying from my vantage point, these are the things I ask women when they ask me that question.
And I'm here for that because it opens up like an avenue for that conversation to be had. So I'm here for that.
Yeah. I just don't like no foolishness,
Oh,
right?
oh.
I just don't like no foolishness. So if you're gonna ask me a question like that, right? Whenever someone asks me a question, I'm just like, yo, well, let's keep it 100 with each other, because once we get through answering these questions, then what's the next step? Because if I say, yo, we're together, that means you and I are together. There are rules that come with me and you getting together, right? And one of the rules is, yeah, you got to drop your best friend, or you got, don't be bringing my business up with these other girls. Like, I need to know, how close in proximity am I to the other jump offs? When did those things come to an end? Because if you give me the wrong answer, then I'll tell you what we are. You and I are enjoying a nice burrito at Chipotle because you asked me a dumbass question knowing damn well you dating 3 other guys. That's that's just me. You know what I'm saying? Like, come correct, or don't come at all.
Okay.
I do want to address that comment that just popped up too. I never said that it's men's responsibility to take the relationship to another level. I said that that specific question implies that it's on the man to take it to the next level. So if that's the implication, then why would you pressure or rush my answer? Because I feel like as a man that you're asking me to be, I would do that on my own.
Lane says, I'm fucking with you, and I'm fucking with you only. I think most women can agree we're like that. Nah, I think you're not going to get most women to agree unless you fall into the sister code, because a lot of women, I won't say all women, are trying to play by the same rules that they think guys are playing by. And most times guys aren't playing by those rules. I'll hip you to some game. If the brother is feeling you, you're going to know it. You're going to know it, and he's going to be more hesitant to put a title on it because of the way that relationship dynamics between men and women are nowadays. Because it's, more commonly, women are scared to put something on it because, I don't need nobody. I'm a boss. I get the bag. I do this on my own. I grind every day. So this poor guy is sitting across the table like, well, I don't want to scare her off. You know what I'm saying? I don't want her to feel like she's being owned or possessed. But if he's feeling you, you won't even have to ask that question. There's a certain way that men behave around women that they want to be exclusive with. And on the back end, I'm sorry, Cincy, I'm going to give up more game here. If a guy's really feeling a chick, he's already started weeding out them hoes out of his life. You know what I'm saying? We start dead in text messages from other people, and it's like, all right, so now I'm just going to cruise and let this be. I'm cruising. He's already attached to her. So if you're asking the question, what are we? Then... what? Well, let me ask you that question. What am I to you? And what have I been to you prior to you asking me this question? How has your behavior been when you haven't been around me? 3 weeks prior to this question, what have you been doing? What have you been saying about me? Who you been saying it to? Who you been spending time with? Are your feelings only valid when we're together? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that type of stuff. Women be out here playing games, Bexy. You know they do, man. You know they do.
I'm not saying that they don't. Of course, everybody.
I feel like Bex is up here on her own, man. I'm gonna throw. We're gonna see if someone wants to put their money where their mouth is. I'm gonna throw the. Are you cool? You guys cool with me throwing the invite out for one more woman to come up here and be with Bex?
I'm good. You know what? One game that I will admit to doing, aside from breadcrumbing, is the silent treatment. I am also guilty of the silent treatment.
Cincy's face.
Is the silent treatment not just basically ghosting?
No.
So you're really going to say that I'm just not going to speak to you? Wow.
Ghosting is different from the silent treatment.
If break that down for us.
I'm giving my dude aside the silent treatment, I'm gonna come back eventually. But ghosting, you have no intentions on coming back to that situation.
You might as well just jump into the pool that Two-Face fell in.
But let me ask you this question, right? So it's not Bex on the offensive, Cincy. So if a woman comes to you and she says, hey, what are we've been doing, and she augments it and says, we've been doing this, and this. I want to know, are we headed somewhere with this? Because I'm enjoying the time we're spending together. Does that change the question for you?
Yes, because it's a lot. Excuse me. It's a lot more direct. The intention is very straightforward. It's not an open-ended question. It's not a loaded question. Because we can be a lot of things, but when you start to explain your stance to it in your question, it becomes a lot clearer.
Okay.
And that eliminates the implication that it's simply on you only to make the decision of what we are.
I'll give you a bit of red pill right here. I actually like the definition that people thought you were saying before. I think that a man should declare the relationship, but then you can't change up on me. Be like, yeah, you know what, Bex? You know what, babe? Whomever asked the question, we a thing. Me and you a thing. So right then, if the guy says he's a thing, does that mean, women? I want you to respond to this. If you be this type of woman, does that mean everything else in the background is deaded? No more emotional support from that one male best friend, any of that stuff. Like, I'm with this guy.
For me, yes. If I ask that question, then yeah, everything else, we 86 and all of that.
Wait, so was it 86 before you asked the question?
No.
See, and this is what.
Okay, so if it wasn't that before, then clearly what we are is nothing.
That's
because from my view, if we are something that's worth going into a relationship with, you've already determined or moved on from your other options.
Okay, look. I am in my 30s. I am not about to be out here putting all my eggs in one basket. So I am going to be serial dating. And I will let that person know up front that this is what I'm doing. I am serial dating. And within my process of serial dating, I may or may not like one of these guys way more than everybody else. So, I mean,
So from the point that you realize that, can you not leave, say, like if it's 3 of them, the other 2 once you realize that?
I could.
Because for me, from my perspective, if this was the other way around, what I'm thinking is, okay, I've got these 3 women. I really like this one. So I'm going to dead these other 2. Now, the other 2 shouldn't be backup because I've already established what level of person I want. So if there's going to be any more people moving forward, they're going to have to be new and live up to the same standard of the one of the 3 that I picked.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not asking all of the guys what are they asking.
No, but here's the thing. This is so, and the thing for me personally, man, is I can't speak about, I'm just hypothesizing, playing devil's advocate and stuff like that. For me personally, when I'm on the other side of that question, if I'm feeling the person, I've already made a decision. Like, and it's almost it happens organically all the time with me. I stop everything else because that if I'm feeling a person, that means I'm willing to put all eggs in the basket. And then that's something I was advising someone on the other day, man. Only one of 2 things can happen if you're starting to feel a person. Either they're going to reciprocate it or they're not. But you're going to have to take a chance either way it goes. And then taking that chance, for me personally, I can't divide. This is why I've never been good at doing the player shit, right? I can't divide my attention amongst that many women, right? It starts to get on my nerves after a while, trying to juggle all that shit and like because I like to get emotional with people. So if I'm feeling a chick, and even though I may be like out doing something else, it organically comes to an end. I stop answering those other text messages. I just start leaning in on that more because she's got my undivided attention. Now, I don't have a problem with a woman asking the question. My problem is if you ask me that question and I open up to you and I say, hey, this is what I think we are, and then it's followed by some fuckery. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't ask me no questions. Let's just enjoy this burrito and shut the hell up and enjoy our time together.
What kind of fuckery are you speaking of?
Well, the type of fuckery, and I'm just speaking from my soul experience, man. I'm a man in his 40s, and prior to Mrs. Hold Up, I dated a lot. I was out there. I was out in them streets, as they say, man. And I would encounter, because of the type of dude I am, I only attract a certain type of woman. I don't attract like a meek, mild woman that's just like, I attract a certain type of fiery woman. And I would always find myself in these situations where it's like, well, what are we, Steve? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm feeling you. And then I would get a response like a week later, like, you know what? This is too much for me. It feels like we're moving too fast. I'm like, okay, bye. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm moving at my pace. You asked me how I felt, and I was like, yo, I'm feeling you. I could spend time with you exclusively. Is that what you want to do? Because I'm old school, right? I'm not scared of using words like monogamy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not scared of saying things like, nah, I'm good. Let's just hang out in the house tonight. I don't need to be out and about with you on the streets. I thought we were trying to build something here. You know what I'm saying? I'm good with, there's a certain point, we all know this, like as a guy, you start dating a girl seriously, you know that you're going to see your homeboys less because you're spending time building another emotional relationship. Some women struggle with the concept of not getting to talk to their girlfriends or seeing them the same way they used to before because they don't want to be controlled. So that's why I always, when that question is asked, I'm like, well, what do you think we are? You know, put it on the table. What do you think we are, sister? You know, because I'm not about to, give you all this old school attention if you're not mentally in the right place. And I'm not going to breadcrumb your ass either. Once we get up from this table, wrong answer, back to the nebulous you go. Like back to the streets. You say one wrong thing and you're going back to the streets from which you came. I'll be like Gandalf in that bitch, like, I cast you out.
Nerd.
I am a nerd, man. But I got to play it that way. You know why? Because I'm not built like a lot of my homeboys. Like when my heart is very, very much open to the possibility. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, like your style, like your vibe, blah blah blah. And then you get hit with that bullshit like, oh, I don't know. This just seems like a lot. Like, was it a lot when you asked me that dumb freaking question? Was it a lot when you built this construct in your head about what I should be now? Because that's the next thing, Cincy. They ask you the question, but they have an image of how you're supposed to answer it, how you're supposed to behave from that point forward. Tell me I'm wrong, Bex. Tell me women don't be plotting.
You're not wrong. I will admit it. Yes, I have an image of how shit should go. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Well, thank you for being honest, Bex. I thought I was gonna have to fight it out of you, man.
No, we're being growth. We're growing.
We're coming out of the healing stage. D Love says, if you're not ready for the truth, then don't ask. LOL. Manta says, exactly, Steve. Plan is BS. I believe so too, man. I just think it's a waste of time, really. But the breadcrumbing thing is, I think it's really insidious though, because I know people do this. I know for a fact. Huh?
It's evil.
It's playing on a person's paranoia. You just haven't experienced it yet, Cincy. You haven't had someone throw it on you the right way yet. That's the problem. You're muted, my brother.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, I'm just not going like you got to look at it this. I just admitted that if a certain situation arises and I choose not to just be straightforward with someone, I'll ghost them. So if I get ghosted or breadcrumbed, I'm going to have that same nonchalant energy for them. Okay, whatever. Bye.
And this is why I use the oldest tactic in the book. It's called nuclear. I will dead someone real quick. If I'm like, oh, you acting funny style? Block. You know what I'm saying? Weird behavior? Block. It'd be almost like you didn't exist in my universe at all, man. I had a girl's homeboy hit me up once. He's like, yo, why did you block her? Why did you unfriend her? I was like, oh no, she started acting funny style. started trying to play with my mind, and you're not gonna have me out here texting you at 2 a.m. So guess what you get? Block. You wake up tomorrow morning to try to breadcrumb me and realize page unavailable. Like, yes, hold this middle finger, hold that L.
Oh, what is going on here?
You don't agree with me, Sissy? Yo, I'm telling you, I'm cold with it, man. You give me your phone number, I call you, and you pull that. Hey, let me hit you back. In 20, you don't call me back. In 20, don't call back. You might get the this Google number is no longer in service.
I mean, yeah, I feel you on that one. I'm not about to block you, but yeah, I feel you 100% on that one.
Oh, I'm blocking you. If I can get the Cincy's phone, I'm blocking you on his behalf. I'm like, give me the phone, fool. Dead. Unfriend her mother too. All of them. She got cousins you hang out with. Dead. Like the whole family got to go.
What was the comment that Lainey said? I missed it.
About what?
I don't know. It was on the screen.
Oh.
I missed it.
Lainey says my heart is open when I want something to go fast. When I want something to go fast, because I know when something is right for me, maybe I draw fear into men because I'm too strong. Steve has no patience. Absolutely not, man. I don't play no games. Like it's I need time to figure it out. You got 3 hours. Get back at me. That's
I understand that, Lainey. I get that. I just posted something a while ago. I have no middle ground when it comes to shit like that. Like when I want what I want it. And I think I can be a little bit too extra sometimes. So I get that.
What, you could be too extra, like too demanding, or what are you trying to control? Timmy Tim.
The pressure.
Apply pressure.
Yeah.
Listen, I didn't think this was going to be a show about dynamics and dating and stuff like that, but I find it interesting.
Change the topic.
I'm always willing to fight women. I mean, I'm always willing to build with women.
What? Okay.
But that's interesting because when women apply pressure, it's them being assertive and they're too strong for a man. Bex, let me ask you this question: has a man ever applied pressure and you've been like, he's creepy? This motherfucker a weirdo. Like that same, let's say it's the same. Would you respond to the energy you were just describing if a man did it to you?
Yes, pressure has been applied, but it did make me feel uncomfortable. And when I was willing to have a conversation about it, like I asked him, I wanted to talk to him about it. And when I asked him that question, like, okay, I felt like I was being rushed. I was like, why are you rushing me? And he made it seem like, basically he tried to be like, okay, it's all in your head. Like, you need to chill out, shit like that.
Wait, when he was applying pressure to get an answer?
Yeah.
So you don't respond to it well?
No, it's not that I didn't respond to it well. Like I wasn't angry or mad. I just tried to explain to him how I was feeling. Like I felt like I was being rushed. And
okay.
He just tried to make it seem like it was just me, Now,
all right. So wait, does that make him too strong for you?
No.
That's what I'm trying to understand. Okay, so explain to me how it's different when a woman is doing the same thing, but she's too strong for that man.
I mean, I never said it was like it was different or anything, or I was like, or I'm too strong for a man. Like I never said that it was like a difference.
Okay.
I was speaking like for me, like I know that, yeah, I know me and what I be doing.
I'm trying to recollect the dating days, man. All right, so here's a bad one for you. I was kind of casually seeing this chick, man. Some friends hooked us up, and this is when I was like, I need to date age appropriate. I think I was 30 and she was like 24, and I sent the message. In my day, if you say, "Yo, what's up?" just stopping by to say hello, obviously, dummy, If I'm sending a text, I am referring to the fact that I am texting you and I'm saying I'm stopping by to say hello. Unless you see me outside right now, you got to use your deductive logic. And she's like, wait, you're stopping by where? I'm at work right now. You can't stop by. And I'm like, fucking bird brain. The text is me stopping by. This is old timey speak. I'm saying hello. And that's, and in that moment, I was like, oh, am I the one applying pressure? Like, I was just saying hello, just wanted to say what's up. I was showing genuine interest in your day. I have not made that mistake since then. I don't give a fuck how your day's going, to be honest with you. Keep that shit to yourself. What's her face ruined that for all of y'all. No more stop by text messages.
Well, she didn't understand, Steve.
So exactly, Bex. That's my point. That's my point. So she was also another person that asked me, so what are we doing? And I'm like, nothing. You and me aren't doing anything because you can't read.
Well, at least you gave her an answer.
I mean, yeah, it's too hard to string a person along, man. The one time I did that was this girl named Patrice, and I was just like, this is weird. Yeah, no, poor Patrice, man. Like, poor Patrice, my ass. She knew what. Yo, my favorite part about this conversation is Cynthia's face. He's got energy for it. Like, I ain't breadcrumbing. I ain't answering no questions. I ain't doing nothing. Go get me a fucking Coke 45 out the fridge. That's what me and you are right now.
Wow, that's rest.
Okay.
You don't agree. Yeah, you don't agree. Don't get up here being like, man, just turn political on me. I'm up here bearing my soul.
No, I mean, I'm just I had to casually a little bit remove myself because I do feel like this is not. It's not my style. It's not. I don't feel like I could get strung along like this, and I don't feel like I'd purposely string along anybody like this.
Yeah. I'm trying to think though, man. I assume it has to be something psychological, like the chase and the holding on to. I think that's what people get off on it, right? If I'm looking at it, I will say this before we move on, right? If you are breadcrumbing someone, you get whatever comes next, right? You drive someone crazy, you start making them feel certain ways and doing stuff, and then you lie about it. Now you've gone out of breadcrumbing into gaslighting, right? If you're dropping subtle nudges, sending hearts in the morning and shit like that, everyone know what that fucking heart emoji means. Don't try to change it up to mean something plutonic. You know what that damn heart emoji means to that person. You don't send it. You know what I send my friends? What do I send you guys in messages? I'm like, what's up? What's good?
Okay.
The most you'll get is a yo.
I send hearts to everybody in my.
There you go. Okay. So why should your man respond to you sending him a heart emoji?
Like I said, I send hearts to everybody. Like, that's just what I do. I send hearts to everybody. But I mean, if I'm texting my dude, it's gonna be something. I know what the fuck I'm doing. Okay.
Is the one out of the three that you like the most getting more hearts than the other two?
Is he getting an extra row of hearts with one of those sprinkly stars next to it too?
A little rose or something at the end.
I mean, yeah, you gotta make the one that you want.
D-Love says I'm sending 0 hearts from that one. I mean, it goes to Cincy's point, right? You know what I'm saying? Like social media, the like button, the heart button. You know, there have been whole studies done on this, Cincy, about how it impacts people and how they perceive. That's why they got rid of the down. They didn't get rid of it, but they closed it. The thumbs down on what was it? IG. Yeah, and on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because of the way it was impacting people. Now, I'm not saying it's right. It's just that people are so immersed and dependent upon the feeling they get from these interactions through social media. Don't be sending no one heart emojis. You know what I'm saying? That's what I tell my wife. I'm like, yo, you gotta be careful. Guys see a heart emoji and they're not seeing a heart. They see a little vagina. That's what they see when you see.
God. Okay. Fine. I will stop sending people hearts. I'll stop. I'm just.
Oh, yeah.
Manta says both breadcrumbing and gaslighting is based on accusing someone of mind effing someone. When will the accuser take responsibility for their own mind and feelings relegate to the situation on their own? The accuser or the accused? Oh yeah, okay, I got you. I got it. When will the accuser take responsibility for their own
I mean,
mind
at the end
feelings?
of the day, both people got to take responsibility.
Well, see, that's the thing, man. This is the time of non-accountability, right? Like it's like, no, I'm living my truth. And my truth is I'm a free spirit that sends hearts to everyone. You should just not read so deeply into it.
I feel attacked. Are you attacking me?
No, I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking that behavior of other people. No, men see her ass when they see a heart. Exactly. You know, when women send men, like I'm telling you, just putting you on the game, man. You send the wrong guy a heart emoji, and he may not even have thought of you that way, but in his mind, he's like, "Oh, an opening. Well, let me send 2 hearts back and see what happens." That happened with a certain social media personality. You know, his old lady was texting with an ex, which is already a bad move, right? But he had tried to explain to her why it was a bad mood, and the bad mood was like you can't give guys an inch. You know, you can't leave. You cannot leave the temple unguarded for a second. Like they will pounce.
You're right. I understand that.
Let's see. Mantis taps back in. Example: why am I responsible because a girl thinks me liking her post means I like her? You're not responsible for that, Mantis. That's you're splitting the topic. You're responsible if you know she likes you and you are leading her on. And I think that's the thing that gets lost in the conversation. So I think leading someone on is emotionally making them think something is going to happen. Well, you know damn well it ain't going to happen. And that's what the breadcrumbing is. That's what the article was talking about specifically. Bex had the biggest little smile on her face before she took that sip of water right there. I ain't sticking up for women. I'm just trying to keep the topic pure. Trying to keep it consistent. Let's get off of this before we get into some dangerous territory. It's getting tense. What is sense?
We're healing and growing.
We're healing and growing. Cincy, which one you want to lean into, Mr. JD Vance, or did you want to get into your Elon?
Cincy, is this a baby picture of you?
Yes, that's a baby picture.
Look at how brown you were.
Yeah. Goddamn fluorescent lighting and changed the whole game up for these cameras. Let's see. No, because it's no, if we go to the JD Vance one, that might nah, I'm gonna read that.
You want the JD? All right, let me pull it up on the screen for the audience. Yeah. You can go ahead and start reading it.
All right, so we got this senator from Ohio. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean for this guy to be from here. Who went out on a limb, I suppose, and said that pornography should be banned because it's stopping Americans from getting married and starting families. Quote, I think the combination of porn, abortion have basically created a lonely, isolated generation that isn't getting married. They're not having families, and they're actually not even totally sure how to interact with each other. This was not necessarily backed by his party when he made that comment, but it was in 2016. The Republican Party did back this and said that porn was a public health crisis, giving it the ominous distinction of being one of the causes for lower birth rates in America.
Go ahead, since you let off.
So, I think Facebook, Instagram, and the social dating apps we were just talking about have a lot more influence on why people don't know how to be social in real life than porn does. It might there. I can see the issues with pornography, um, as far as creating like false senses of reality and false sexual experience and things like that. But that's what we're blaming on people's poor social skills. Like I don't even know how your publicist allowed you to come out here and say. I mean, to me, it just sounds ridiculous. I don't know. Somebody else, let me know. And then my second thing is that's a pretty hard line stance from a Republican senator there. Are they more willing to ban porn than assault rifles?
Here's what's funny, right? So let's look at it pragmatically, right? So there have been studies done on the effect that porn has in desensitizing you to actual sexual encounters. Like you were saying, the false expectation. People don't realize that these are paid actors. Oh, I'm sorry. They are sexual athletes.
Athletes, yes.
Who, they many takes and all that type of stuff. A lot of Viagra involved, but there are studies done on this. This has been an ongoing conversation on the expectation that pornography creates and the unrealistic, whatever. And then there are more studies that are leaning towards the fact that people who isolate and watch porn are going to be given to other proclivities and behaviors because they no longer see it as a interaction between adults. It becomes this fetish, this thing, and maybe they prefer porn over sex. So I can see where they're going with that. Interestingly enough, China banned porn because of the impact they felt it was having on their country and the males in their country and the impact it could possibly have. And their reasoning was not too far off from this. They felt like it was weakening the men in their country, that it was changing and warping and, sitting around watching the hub all day long, 3 hours in, arthritis in the hand, carpal tunnel starting to kick up, and you don't know how to behave around women. I'm surprised that a lot of people haven't tried to make the connection between physical attacks and the type of stuff that's represented in pornography. Now, here's my point. I've gotten filleted for this before, but I stand on it. I personally think that it can be dangerous in large amounts of consumption. I would never want anyone to forgo the possibility of interacting with another human being to watch porn, because there's an issue there. There are whole groups dedicated to this. Sex Anonymous, Porn Anonymous, dealing with people with genuine addictions. Now, I don't see the correlation between how it's diminishing marriage rates, right? That's the thing that was not established to me. But you make a good point.
When you said China banned porn, did they see like an impact? Like, was there?
Well, when you live in a totalitarian government and the government decides like, hey, this is just immoral and just, they don't really have to explain it. Who knows what their real reasoning was? It was like, you ain't doing it no more. Like, we don't have to give you a reason. You're in the wrong country if you're looking for reasons. Here's the reason. Like our parents used to tell us, because I said so. Like, they didn't want it to weaken the men, was the gist of it. No pun intended. But I don't see how this could impact the marriage rates, because on the other hand, just from my vantage point, okay, let me say it from the Christian vantage point, right, for Christians. The Christians that are able to abstain and not have sex before marriage, one of the reasons that they pursue marriage is obviously so that they can find a partner that they can have, relations with in a godly manner. Now, when I say in a godly manner, I don't mean like the missionary position. It's like they don't want to give in to temptation, right? They don't want to I think a lot of people have it confused about how Christians view this. They don't want sex to become an idol in their life, right? They don't want to be that person that is constantly relying on the physical release of sex and put that in front of God. So that has a lot to do. That is the foundation of purity culture. It's like, I want sex to be glorified in God's name. Now, let me just say this, and I've been consistent in this. You should never look to me for morality. I'm a person that has watched porn, has struggled with it, all those types of things. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it was a part of my life, and it's one of those things. I just think that in regards to marriage, the only way I can see it impacting marriage is if you think your wife is going to be doing what the actress is doing, right? You know what I'm saying? Because she gets paid to do that, right? And there's a lot of prep work that goes into being a sexual athlete. I don't know. What do you guys think?
You think that's the only way that it would impact a marriage?
I don't. That's the only way I can see it. That's the only way I can see it. The only other way is if you get married and you're struggling with a porn addiction and you're choosing porn over sex with your wife.
Yeah,
That can definitely lead to a divorce.
I believe. What's his name? The big goofy strong dude that was in Friday had came out and said that it messed up his marriage at one point.
Terry Crews, right?
Yeah, that's him.
You call that man Doofy?
Goofy? Yes, I did call him Goofy. Goofy motherfucker. I took most offense that in the quote, the part of the quote where he said it's creating lonely, isolated generation. Obviously the only example I could give of it was the Terry Crews one, but that was someone who had already started a family. Now, yes, I agree that it could take a toll on your marriage, but did that prevent him from getting married? Because it's one of those things to me where in my mind, I'm thinking the people who are overly participating in porn at that point probably already have and I don't have the facts to prove this, but already have a social issue with getting out there to begin with. And the people that and then there's another group of people who may overwatch porn that aren't having that issue because they're going and finding overly sexual people to experience that with.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I get that. As you were saying that, I was thinking of the fact that like how it could impact a marriage as well. Is that like say for instance with Terry Crews. Yeah, have you ever seen that movie Summer of Sam? Spike Lee movie had John Leguizamo in it, and the guy from The Pianist, and a bunch of big name like method actors. And this guy that Leguizamo was playing was he was supposed to be an Italian dude, and he would cheat on his wife, right? Quote unquote, because he didn't want to do certain things with his wife. I think if I remember correctly with Terry Crews, correct me in the chat on the replay if not, I think there were things that maybe his wife didn't do, right? Which is another thing that plays into it, which is why a lot of like married men and even women turn to porn because it's something that their partner is either not comfortable with or they don't feel like they can get from their partner, right? Because what is it? What is porn other than like the most heightened like just carnival of what people do with sex, right? Like how many people are actually doing what they're doing in the films? We all strive for it, but come on now, you know what I'm saying? Like how many people are actually doing that? And there might be some partners who aren't comfortable with sex in certain places, performing, certain types of sex, etc., etc. And it's this fetishized thing in their brain where they're like, I can go to this to get that and live in my fantasy whilst maintaining the relationship. But the problem with that is the more you turn to that, the more you turn to that, right? Your partner starts to take a second fiddle to it. It's like, and then resentment can build up is another thing that they found is like, hey, why don't you do these things? Now, prior to marriage, I got to hear from you. Y'all are single people. This is where, how could it prevent you from getting married is what I'm trying to figure out. Like that's the part.
Can we put all of that on porn? Because if it's not porn, it would be something else too, right? Like,
what do you mean?
Like your partner not doing something your partner not being comfortable with something or whatever, not doing what you would want them to do, like things that you're interested in, like that can fall into something else too, right?
Well, no, if we're talking about sexual acts, just from my estimation, that is the point of porn, right? The point of porn, it's marketed and sold as the thing that you can't get, right? That is that when it was back in the arcades, it's sold as like this fantasy back when it was classy. It was sold as this, this fantasy about things that you might not be able to obtain. And I think that's why people turn to it. But the problem is you're turning away from your partner to turn to it. And it's hard to turn back to reality when fantasy becomes more appealing. But I don't know. You're two single people. You know, I'm not going to ask you guys if you watch porn. That's none of my business. It's not the audience business either. But could this prevent you from being with someone if they watch too much of it, or are you watching too much of it and you're like, hey, he's not gonna be able to give me what I want, or she's not gonna be able to do it that way?
I mean, well, from my perspective, hey, if that's what you do and that helps you we can just watch it together. But I very much agree with what D just said. I don't think it can prevent you from getting married unless you're just stuck at home and not meeting people. And that kind of goes to my point that who make up the largest demographic of porn addicted. It would feel like to me people that are already isolated. And porn is just their way of getting sexual satisfaction as just a part of someone who's isolated. I mean, if you're isolated, you still are going to have sexual desire. So how do you get off to that?
Have you guys ever seen? Have you ever seen a movie called Don John?
Who?
Don John. It's about this Guido from New Jersey. It's played by it's the kid that was in Batman Dark Knight Rising. He played Robin, and he's basically this dude from Jersey, right? And he's a pimp. This man's a Mac. He's on a streak where he goes home with a woman from the bar every night, and even though he's able to accomplish this task every night, he compares his sexual exploits with the porn that he watches. And he talks about not being able to get to the same place when he watches, like how he feels when he watches porn when he's with a woman. And there's this great monologue in it where he's like, he goes home with a chick, a baddie, and he's rating it against the porn, like she's, going down on him, and he's like, eh. And then when the actual sex happens, he's like, eh, and it's not like because he's not performing, like this man's giving his A game. She's enjoying herself, but he's so caught up in that fantasy of where porn takes him when he watches it. Like at one point in the movie, he says, when I watch it, everything else just disappears. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, it's a great movie. Lainey says, I can guarantee porn does not make people feel fulfilled like the real thing. We got to ask a porn addict about that. He's got 2 vice grips in his hand. He's like, oh, it does. All right. What do you think, Mike?
How far is he willing to go? Like, is he just talking about like the porn industry period, or because it's some wild shit going on in the metaverse? Like, is he talking about that too? Like, what is he wants to ban everything?
But that's a good question. Now,
and wasn't he like comparing it to like guns as well in the article?
Yeah. It's funny because how far would he take it? How do you think America would react if they made porn illegal? Because it was illegal at one point. How do you think America would react if it went back to that?
I mean, they're still selling bootlegs at the corner store, so just gotta start watching DVDs again.
Chat, how do you think America would react if the hub went away one day, porn was illegal, and it was shoved back into the dark alleys of Hollywood? How do you think people would react? You think
the incels might leave their mother's basement.
Ooh.
Nah, they gonna get violent. That's what the fuck they gonna do.
I would make a case that they're already at that point.
I personally think that if they made porn illegal, it would be the funniest shit I've ever seen. I would literally put a lawn chair out in front of just to watch the conversations evolve out of that. Because if they made porn illegal, well, let me ask you this: do y'all think sex work should be legal or illegal?
I think it should be legal.
It's gonna happen either way. So yeah, I think it should be legal.
Like, should sex workers like get health insurance? Should they be under a 401k and like work for someone, or should they be independent contractors? How do you think that should play out there?
Health insurance sounds like a marvelous idea, but the 401k, I mean, yeah, why not?
And should it be like every other job? You got to be 18 or no worker permits in this situation, right?
If I'm thinking about like places like Vegas and shit, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like if we're gonna legalize this, let's go all out with it.
What do you mean?
I mean, yeah, like 18 and up, health insurance, 401k, all of that. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Now, well, what do you think? Since you said you think it should be legal,
Well, yes, I do think it'll be legal. One of the big things I feel that way because when I feel like you take the risk out of and something like that, and along with comparing it to maybe selling drugs or something like that, the more risk you remove from the person that's doing it, I feel like it creates somewhat of, and I'm not saying a completely safe environment, but a somewhat safer environment because you're not putting a whole lot on the line. Now, in my mind, if they were to do what you guys just suggested, make it all the way through to the point where it's 18 and up, rules, regulations, go get a job, you can get a 401k, doing all that mess. That's not going, in my opinion, to help the people that are actually out here doing it. Because what that's going to do is just like in the states they did make weed legal, is allow an elite group of people to completely monopolize sex work. And the people that are in need of or actually selling their sex to take care of themselves are going to be the ones that get left out. So I think it should be a lot like what the state of Tennessee did with weed and just completely deregulate it all the way down to trafficking it so that there's just no law saying that you can't do it.
no, see, now that's interesting, man. Because, well, first of all, here's why it's never going to be legalized, right? One, America doesn't. I will. It's legal in Vegas if you go out to the deserts and those houses and stuff like that, like the bunny house and all that type of stuff. But I don't think it'll ever be delegalized because one, there are too many people who are invested in the state of it as it is right now. I think the same people that speak the highest against it are the same type of people that were on Epstein's island, right? And I honestly, I think certain things like my position remains the same. I don't think it should be legalized, but if it is legalized, I would love to see how people reacted because what do we do with the crackheads that are selling their bodies? Are we going to clean them up and allow them to continue to trade? You know what I'm saying? How does that work? Like since he was saying, like, is the Fed going to accept the money? Right, because there are people who own greeneries and all types of beautiful shit in Oregon, and they got to keep all that money in a fucking safe in the back room because they can't put it in the bank. You know, they can't. It's not legal. Shout out, what up, Da Vinci?
Hi, DaVinci.
It's someone pretending to be Da Vinci. Agent Johnson, we know it's you.
I'm sorry, guys. It was just not good. I'm so sorry.
I was waiting for a man's voice to be like, ah ha ha ha, it's your girl, Da Vinci. No need to look twice.
Yeah, don't come looking for her. That's totally how it would happen too.
Da Vinci, you just walked into us talking about pornography and sex work and the legalization. Should it be? Should it not be? There's a young gentleman here that says porn is preventing people from getting married. What are your thoughts?
What the fuck? Already on the bullshit. Damn. No, it's not. It's the oldest profession. If it was keeping people from getting married, like I think it would have stopped people like way back in the day, you know?
Well, pornography is the oldest profession or prostitution?
Prostitution.
The Romans enjoyed a good porn, except for it would be a guy walking around with a fake phallus up on stage, and sometimes it just represented like, you know, his endowment had nothing to do with his actual size. It was like he's a man's man, so manly it was like 19 inches.
Right. And did you? Oh, there was also there. I can't remember which culture it was, but like I read something a while back where they were discussing why like the penises on all the statues were so small, right? And it was it was because having a large phallus was considered it made you seem like stupid or dull or brutish. Um,
Unless you were Caesar and you were reenacting your capture of the Germanic tribe. Yeah, no. So here's so all right, let me pose a scenario to you guys, right? So they do legalize it. My question still stands: if they legalize sex work, does that mean they're going to go to Hunts Point in the Bronx and then clean those women up? And if they legalize sex work, will there still be a need for a pimp? Will that name change? Will that station be different? How will they allow these people to put their money into the banks? These are the questions, because if they don't allow, the weed peddlers to put their money in the bank, are they going to allow are the feds going to take money from the sex workers?
So here's my thing about sex work. I read a lot about it. I think that it's actual work. And I think that it should be validated. I think the solicitation of it, however, should be illegal.
Wait, say that again. Run that back one more time.
Okay, I think sex work itself should be legal, right?
Right.
I think that buying it, however, should be illegal.
Ooh, okay. Now unpack that for me, because that's so the work itself should be illegal, but the people who consume it, the customers, they should face the crimes. The punishment is what you're saying, or am I hearing you wrong?
Yes. No, yes.
Okay. Elaborate. I'm interested in this.
Okay, because I feel like people are always going to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's only dangerous because people who are getting people who are, how am I going to say this? People who are coming to the sex workers, a lot of the times, like, they're the ones who are dangerous. I say this knowing a couple of sex workers. I'm not going to name them or anything, of course, but like, they will get into situations with their customers where either they are unhappy with the service that was provided, or they no longer want to pay for the service that was provided. And so they try to resort to blackmail, like, oh, I'm just going to tell the police what you're doing so I don't have to pay. But I've already gotten my service,
No, 100%. Tricks, Johns, aka simping ass fools, can be the most dangerous thing that any sex worker is going to experience. Here's my thing, though, right, about this whole scenario. I'm always trying to look at both sides, and I'm sure you're all aware that sex workers, these women on the streets, they be running pockets. Cynthia, I know you know this. Not that I'm saying that you know from personal experience, but if you know anything about the game, it's not always the sex worker that's the victim. They, in fact, will run a hustle on the guys. Let's take, for instance, she wasn't a sex worker, but let's take, for instance, in the lightest form, Cardi B, right? Cardi B was an exotic dancer, and she was running fools. I mean, straight up jacking them. I don't know how far she took it. I don't know if she went Jennifer Lopez in that movie Hustlers, which is based off of a true scenario where they were drugging men who were coming into the clubs. But that's a common occurrence that happens in sex work too. But your point is interesting, DeVinci, because if they do legalize sex work and then the only persons who are being prosecuted are the Johns, does that then stand the reason that sex work will become obsolete?
I really don't think it will. Truly, I do not. But I think it puts like sex workers at less of a risk.
Okay. Now, what about the pole pimps, man? What are the pimps going to do when they legalize? What is a brother like Sharp going to do Bex is touching lovely, man. I think I gotta send you a video, Sharp. You will find him fascinating. Where do pimps fit into this whole thing? Because sex workers are going to still need protection, right? Or are we just relying on police to do the right thing in regards to protecting sex workers?
I never rely on police to do the right thing. Like, have you met the police? It it has been documented on multiple cases that they've been infiltrated by gangs and various white supremacist groups, like documented, actual documentation that they've
Right.
been infiltrated and nothing is being done about it, like at all. I'm sure you know about like the gang that's infiltrated the police, and I want to say Los Angeles, correct?
I can't confirm for real reasons. I can't speak on anything happening in Los Angeles or Chicago.
Oh well, long story short, I do not rely on the police to do the right thing. And like, you know, there's a lot of people who will be like, oh, well, it's not all cops. If you have 100 good cops and 10 bad ones, and the 100 good ones don't do something about the 10 bad ones, then you have 110 bad cops. So fuck out of here.
Bars. So pimps, you think would still be necessary? Some form of protection for the sex workers?
Absolutely. I think that I can't believe that I'm saying this. I think that pimps that exploit their position or treat the girls badly or treat the workers badly are just a problem in general. Like I've met so many that just they're aware of their position in the game. They know that, like, hey, if the people who are working for me are unhappy, then I'm not gonna get it in. So, like, I'm not gonna like if they don't eat, I don't eat, and they treat their workers as such. I mean, at least that's just my experience. I've only met a few like really sadistic motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
How
I
would
definitely think that they're necessary.
how would we vet the pimps? Like, would
I,
they go through a vetting process? Like, how would we do that?
Now, see,
you know,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I just have I have a problem with people who accept bad behavior. Like you know, women have this thing right now where we're trying to raise the bar, but it's impossible for us to raise the bar if there are some women who are still accepting bad behavior from men, because instead of like learning and growing and becoming better men, they'll just go to the women that don't require that of them, right? I think the same thing is with anything. If there are still people who accept the exploitation, and I don't want to say accept the exploitation like, you know, they're not victims of these things, or like sometimes they weren't manipulated into bad situations, because that definitely does happen. But I feel like the more people who accept bad behavior, like the less of a possibility like anything will change. You know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying. Go ahead, Ceci. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah. So I was gonna say this. Need for a pimp. And again, like I said, if this were to happen, I prefer a decriminalized version of this. Would only exist if it were decriminalized, because if it becomes regulated, like you guys said or suggested that it could be, there's no need for a pimp, because you're going to go to the store and get sex just like you go to a strip club. And you could argue that your manager at your say restaurant that you work at is doing the same thing a pimp could do. You could argue the owner of the strip club is doing the same thing that a pimp would do. So it
Right.
really
Like your
depends.
boss is the pimp.
It,
You
it
have a
really,
pimp.
yeah.
I have a pimp. Like, you know what I mean? That's your boss. They're just able to do less things if it's regulated, you know? Just like what Sensi was saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It's just, because it's like really, you got to look at it two other ways. There's a pimp in the traditional sense we're talking about is required if it's going to continue being strictly something that people go to the streets, and unfortunately women that are in a need to do that. So yes, that will require protection, because that's not going to change the demographic of who is providing the sex work. Um, Again, now when you regulate it and turn it into a capitalistic opportunity, you don't need that. I mean, I'm gonna go pick up some 2x4s from Home Depot and go next door and get sex in an established business.
So you're looking at it more like a barbershop model is what you're saying. You don't own your chair at the barbershop, you rent your chair. So essentially the sex workers would be, in this location, and they would be paying money to the location to be able to be there.
I envision it being ran very much like a strip club would be run, where you pay your dues to get on the pole, but
But even in a strip club, there's a hierarchy and a hustle and the way these things work. And the only girls that get the good hours to work on the pole, right, and get the good time and get the good dances, they got to kick up and they got to kick in to someone. So you're paying in to someone. So it's a little bit different than having, say, an employer. Like, I can't pay my employer any more money to get better hours. I just got to work harder to position myself to get it. But in a situation like a scenario where the club is, you can pay the doorman to make sure that he says your name. He just says your name, right?
Yeah, and you got to think of this too, like in a certain way. If you're in a business that you're working for somebody, you may not be paying them for the seat at the barbershop, but what you are paying for is the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying for, the what's the word? The exposure.
Yeah, you're paying for the brand that you're associated to. That's pimping, baby. That's pimping. That's pimping.
I feel like I don't see how this is any different from bringing my supervisor chocolate or coffee because I don't want to be on a certain unit. Like, corruption exists everywhere, and I'm not condoning it at all, but it's everywhere, and it's gonna be in everything, and that's not something that I accept. It's something that like you actively fight against, but like it's going to persist unless people don't allow it.
Yeah, and this is my thing. This is why I say it's not going to be legalized, and it has nothing to do with religious suppression. It has, and you came in while I was making this point to Vicky. It has to do with the fact that the people who profit the most from it being in the shadows aren't people who would be opposed to it anyway, but it just works better for them. Like, it works better for the super elite, in my estimation, allegedly, for places like Epstein's Island to exist, because that goes par and parcel. They don't want this type of thing to become normalized, not because they care about the sex workers, but because they don't want to be a part of the country that did normalize it. Now, obviously, they've been doing this thing in Amsterdam for a little while. I just want to turn back to the pimp thing here for a second. Hey, who would you guys say is the biggest pimp in history?
The U.S. government.
I would disagree, and it's a woman, and I want to make sure I give her pimp parade. It's okay. Epstein. it's Epstein's right hand.
Ghislaine?
Right?
Are you joking?
No, Ghislaine. Listen, Ghislaine. Have you watched up on some of how sold up, like, in regards to pimping?
All of it. I've watched all of it.
There is no pimp like Ghislaine. I'm talking about, like, Epstein is a monster, but Ghislaine is the power behind the throne. She got that man in rooms he should have never been in. Like, exposure to aristocrats. Only a pimp can do some shit like that. And she will go down in history as the worst pimp ever known to man, I think, because when you're standing outside of LaGuardia High School recruiting 16-year-old girls, your man Sharp can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Your local black Latino pimp can't go in front of a high school in broad daylight and start recruiting. They got to catch these young poor ladies on social media and do all that wild shit they do to turn these young ladies out and capture them. She was out in the daylight, not even pretending, handing out cards, not saying, hey, you can be a model or anything like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy to me. So she gets, she gets her disgusting pimp flowers. In regards to porn, Davinci, do you think porn is preventing people from getting married?
No, that's stupid. That's silly. Um, I don't think porn is preventing people from getting married. I think people are finally seeing it for the establishment that it is and the agreement that it is. And so they're treating it like an agreement. Like, if I'm going to get married to you and have subpar sex with you for the rest of my life, then, I didn't want to come into it like that. I sure did come into it hot. Like, they're seeing it for the agreement that it is. Like, if I'm going to do this and we're both going to benefit from it, this is what I want from my agreement, and this is what you want from this agreement, And that's what people are looking at it like now, because like it's like, I feel like it's too expensive in the United States to go at it alone anymore, and that's why they're trying to ban cohabitation in certain different states right now, because like people are just living together and getting all of the benefits of being in a quote unquote relationship, but they're not getting married anymore.
I feel like by him saying that, he's like one step away from saying that, okay, women are spending too much time at work and at school, and then boom, we're living in the fucking Handmaid's Tale. And like, I don't know. I'm concerned.
Oh, that's a leap.
It's a leap though. Like,
well, it's a leap in regards to, I'm trying to make the connection. So by banning porn, you think that the next thing is going to be like, hey, by the way, since we're getting rid of porn, now you can't work either.
I'm trying to see what you're saying too, Bex. Can you elaborate a little bit?
I'm just saying, like, when I hear men in power say things like that, I feel like it's one step away from them. You said from what?
You said, you're saying it's plausible. It's not that far of like for them to make it.
Yeah, like where he's not that far from him to be like, okay, well, women are spending too much time at work and at school, so
he's like, well, I'm at it.
No, I definitely get that. Like any reason to like roll back the rights of women, I'm seeing that too.
It's interesting, man, because when I read this article, right, and I think people would think that I would lean heavily towards this because I'm a Christian, but in actuality, I think you should turn people over to their sin. Yeah, have at it. It says that directly in the Bible. Turn them over. Turn them over to the full force of their sin. You want to watch porn? You want to indulge? You want to smoke crack? Hit heroin? I've warned you once, warned you twice. So now have at it. And when it doesn't hit the spot that you want it to hit, you have no one but yourself to blame. And I want people to experience their consequences, because how can you know something's bad for you if it's constantly being kept from you? Like, you could listen to my warning and I could tell you that these things can be harmful in many different ways, or you can put yourself in a scenario. And I think that's the thing that cracks me up the most when we talk about sex work and when we talk about porn in particular. Like, everyone wants to normalize sex work, but I'm like, yo, you ain't outside for real. This is a construct to you, a social topic. You've never actually been on the track before, right? You've never actually been in these places before. And if you think, just like when Prohibition came to an end, that the control of liquor being sold by the mob stopped in any way, shape, or form, they didn't just morph into another way of now holding liquor licenses from bars. If you don't think that this is still going to go on, that corrupt people won't find a way to control it still, then I think you're woefully ignorant, and I think that it's naive at a certain point. But my stance is just, this is a Christian, like, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to be a sex worker, and I don't want you to be someone that goes to a sex worker. I want you to find a healthy way to express yourself. I understand that there are situations where people who can't, ironically, like, we make fun of incels, but this might be the only avenues guys like that who can't get it any other way would ever have. But I still wouldn't want them to do that. I would hope you would find someone and you wouldn't have to turn to just meaningless sex to find fulfillment. But at a certain point, the Christian position is to just go, hey, you do have free will.
I would like to make a sound bite out of that. Can you say it again?
It's in the Bible. I'll say it 100 times because that is the position. At a certain point, it's like, yes, the church's job is to reflect holiness to people. But I think this is how I know that people don't read the Bible or they don't understand what they're reading in scripture and they read things out of context. Like the Apostle Paul talks about it. At a certain point, you turn a person over to the desires of their flesh. Like you just, okay, have at it. What is it you want me to say at this point? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you want to do? Like, if you think this is good for you, then you go full tilt. But
thank you very much.
You can't blame anyone else when this goes wrong. So if we follow that logical conclusion, rise in STDs, hypothetical scenario. I don't want to see you on the news talking about I didn't know. You knew. You knew. You know what I'm saying? You get fucked by the government. They take your money. They tax you improperly. If the Fed opens up the books on these things, don't come back and then want me to march with you. No. Why did you think your profession would be different than anything else? Welcome to the real world. Like that, at a certain point, you do have to let people do what they do. And on top of that, you got to let them experience the consequences. I'm the same way with these little hard-headed kids out here in the streets. You want to bang? You want to be the toughest monkey on the block? You want to be Magilla Gorilla? Go get your consequences. Full throttle, young man.
Appreciate it.
Like you can't stop people from doing these things, especially even when you have a secular clinical community saying the same things. Like, okay, so you have a sex addiction. Are we now validating people in their sex addiction? Do we give them license to pursue that more? What's the next step? People want to roll back, they want to destigmatize drug use. Okay. Have you ever lived in a place where crack and heroin was plentiful? Have you ever seen those type of communities? Or here's a better question. Do you want to live in a community where crack and heroin is legal? I don't want to fucking live there. My kids won't be in there, but you can definitely have your folks up in there with your liberal sentiment thinking that this is the next best move. So just let people experience the consequences. That's you want to legalize it, just don't. And it's funny because on the same hand, people will say, don't force your morality onto me. Then this just goes state to state. You can't get mad at the state that says, no, we don't want this. Or do you think I'm off?
Thanks. No. That whole thing is great. I will be keeping it as a soundbite.
Yo, I'll do you one better. I'll say it 3 times over. If a Christian prays for you once, he prays for you twice, she prays for you the 3rd time, at a certain point, it's like prayers obviously aren't helping you. Go look it up. It's in Romans. Yeah, it's not a secret. At a certain point, you just turn people over to the desires of their flesh.
And I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I will be reminding any Christian of this in the near future. All of you.
No, it's the truth, because I really do think that there's a certain point in society where people forget what the scriptures actually say about these things, man. Like the church is
That's
supposed
because
to
Christians don't read the Bible. What are you talking about?
No, a good majority of
they
Christians
cherry pick the parts that no they don't. No,
okay,
they don't.
So
they cherry pick the parts that they will want.
I'm going to deal with this in the best way I know, because this is a claim that comes up a lot, and I always find that it comes up from the atheist that can't understand the Bible. So
really?
When people say, yeah, no, absolutely. Let me break it down so it can stay broken. When people say Christians cherry pick the Bible, they typically themselves have not done any research on the Bible, and they rely on something that they saw on the show. I believe the West Wing is the thing that people go to, because there's that great scene where the president that's played by Emilio Estevez's dad gets at some supposed Christian psychiatrist or something like that, and they're going through Leviticus, right? And so this has started this whole conversation about, well, Christians cherry pick these portions. What about this in regards to garments? What about this in regards to this? But the thing that people who don't read the Bible don't know, that Leviticus was written for a very specific audience. And that's why you're not supposed to use the clobber knocker verses, as the atheists have dubbed them, in that context. Yes, that was prescriptive to the tribes of Israel. It still stands in the New Testament as well in regards to those behavior. It's not that most Christians don't read their Bibles, because there certainly are people who don't read their Bible. There are Christians who lack the necessary backbone to stand up to the atheist and go, no, I read my Bible. You just don't want to hear what I have to say in regards to it. But that's why I tell people, get the results you want, right? Just don't blame it on anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't blame it on anyone else. Like, say for instance, in this, when I hear people attack Christians who don't read their Bible, there's also a portion in the Bible that describes that type of faith as a childlike faith. Most of those Christians just want to be left alone. I'm not talking about your garden variety, white supremacists pretending to be someone that follows Christ.
That's who I'm talking about.
Those people typically want to sit back. They want to enjoy their faith. They want to share their faith with other people. And if you hit them with something that has to do with soteriology or hermeneutics, they're not going to understand that because they haven't gone to seminary. They don't understand that there are different ways to critique and understand the Bible. They're not going to understand that the Bible has never been rewritten, which is the most popular misquoted thing ever, that it has been translated into different standards, and that the King James Bible is the only Bible besides the Mormon Bible, that has outright lies in it. But that's just the thing. That's just poor teaching from their pastor. The way I approach these situations are the same way I approached it when I was a substance abuse counselor. My man, I can't pull that heroin out of your system. You have to make a decision on your own to say, this is not good for me. Like you do. But I would tell any Christian that's listening to me, you don't have to be scared of these people when they press you about the Bible. Read your Bible and understand that you just have to know what it says, and you have to obey what it says.
Period. You do.
No, and there's the convoluted argument that usually comes from the other side. That's why I do what I do. I always turn the atheist, the feminist, the communist, the whoever is, I turn their argument back on themselves. I'm like, well, let's talk about how your worldview is impacting other people. So are we supplementing Christianity with another worldview? How does this work? What are the limitations? Who gets to decide? Right? Are we now forcing your morality on someone else? And that's where the rub is. So that's why I say, in regards to the topic, like legalization of sex work, for me personally, based off of my belief structure, I believe that the sex worker and the person who consumes it are in a dangerous place. I would want something else for you, but I know the hold that this world has on you. So when you need help, I'll point you to a crisis center, right? When you need help, I'll get you to a good sex addicts meeting. I'll walk with you best I can. But there are certain things where, why cast my pearls in front of swine? Because there are some people who don't want help. They hate the Bible so much and they hate Christianity so much, they can't see how their own behavior is exactly the same as the Christians they hate.
Period. No, you good. You saying it. You saying all the things tonight.
It's the truth. It's the truth. But since we're saying all the things, I want to jump on the thing that just came up today. I've been waiting all day to say this shit. It's been the comedy that has propelled me through my day. I've received no less than 46 text messages today. I can't remember people celebrating the way that they have since the OJ verdict. And I want to talk about what it is that has happened here today. So I'm sure you're all tapped in.
Oh my God.
You're all up to speed. Amber Heard, once a celebrated poster child of the quote unquote Me Too movement, believe women is what she said. You should believe victims, has lost her defamation case. She won the partial claim against, which was actually a charge against some things that Johnny Depp's former attorneys said about her claims. But it just rolled out today. Verdict came in. Jury decided that yes, on all three counts, Amber Heard did commit defamation. She defamed the name of Johnny Depp and has been ordered to pay. Well, the deliberation came down that she must pay, I believe it's $15 million. They settled on, they didn't give him 50, but they gave him $15 million. And it's interesting to see the rollout from the media, which is always a funny thing for a guy like myself. But before I get into the jubilation, I want to hear what everyone else's thoughts are on the verdict.
What do you mean? Like she was guilty of defaming him.
Cincy?
For me, it's not really like it feels bad for anybody, in my opinion, to celebrate this. Um, I don't know. I think because people were looking for a win for Johnny Depp for all the wrong reasons, in my opinion, and it's like that. It to me, and this is just how I feel about it. It's like men were waiting for that one time to be like, "Ha, I told you so." They be
Right.
lying. And
Right.
so it kind of does feel a little odd to celebrate it. Now, did she won? She won. I mean, it's hard to choose a side in that case because at the end of the day, both of them appear to be complete clowns. So I don't. That's my take on it. My initial take, anyways.
That
What
was
say
good,
you?
Cincy. Thank you.
What say you, Bex?
Is that all she has to do? Is to pay him that? What is that? 15 million?
Mm-hmm. What she don't have? She ain't got 15 million. She a bum. But yeah, that's that's what she's got. Anything she does get for the rest of her life will be going to Johnny until that balance is paid off.
Is it a celebration for him though? Because I mean, is anybody still gonna want to fuck with him for real as far as like his career and stuff?
Now that's the thing I want to get to, right? So it's funny because it's interesting. I was talking to a brother today, near and dear to my heart, right? And this is anecdotal, but this was his experience. He was falsely accused, did some time behind it, didn't cop the plea, didn't do the whole I'll take a deal to get out type of shit. I don't know if you guys are well versed in the criminal justice system, but there's a point where you're being transitioned from holding into the jail cell where you usually meet with your public pretender and they try to plead you down. And that's usually offered to people who don't have money to buy lawyers and stuff like that. So plead you down to like, hey, take this lesser charge and you don't have to spend any time in jail. And what you don't know is that lesser charge still ties you to the original charge. It's just reworded and it's still a felony on your record. He didn't do that. He gangster. He was like, I ain't do this. I ain't copping one plea. And he was found guilty of it, right? But then later it was overturned after he had served 3 years on it. You know, and that's including the dead time of waiting to get to the joint and shit like that. So I asked him what his opinion on it was. We were just chopping it up. And the reason I said it reminded me of the OJ thing, because I do agree in this sense, black people made fools of themselves when they celebrated the OJ trial, because in actuality, you didn't win anything. What you did do was manage to show that given the opportunity, you would be just as immoral as the people that have done the same things to you over time, because that's what that was. There was an opportunity to say, hey, this man did it, or we believe he was involved in some way, shape, or form, and based off of the evidence, we're going to convict him, but decide to go another way. In this instance, I don't think that men as a whole have won anything because of this case. I don't think it furthers the conversation about false accusations or any of that stuff. What it does do, though, is the one thing that the media is guilty of, right? The media threw their hat in behind Amber Heard, right? They got behind her 100%. 100%. Right. And no matter how you cut it up, Disney dropped them, Warner Brothers dropped them without as so much as going, hey, should we do an internal investigation just for liability reasons or anything at all? And they dropped them behind all that stuff. And what it has helped to serve is it exposes people. We always talk about facts and numbers on here, and it's amazing to me that the only facts that exist in this case, the only proof that can be verified of any abuse was towards Johnny. But even then, the narrative has been, oh, I think they're both kind of sick. I'm like, yeah, but you don't have anything to base that off. So if I turn that logic on itself, does that mean that the woman who does drugs and is abused because her behavior is erratic when she's on drugs, does that mean she deserved to get beat? Would we go that far to say that about her? Or is this just consigned to Johnny? Because the only proof of anything was that Johnny Depp needs to go to rehab. You know what I'm saying? Like, she lied constantly on the stand. She went as far as to make up using makeup that didn't exist at the time. And I've still watched people defend her. And I think what was really on trial here was, and this is not where I'm leaning with it, but, you know, we got to talk about it. Do we just believe people when they say things? Do we believe people on the strength of their accusation? And I wonder.
Bro, you already know the answer to that question. Like, I think that it should be noted for the record that this was a white woman, a milk maiden, and and white women tears do what white women tears do, bro. Like, it was always going to be an uphill battle because it was a white woman. If it was any other variety of woman on that stand, like, they would have saw the situation for what it was from jump. Like, and you know that, but like, preserving like the image of white femininity is so important to white women first off, but like just white men and white society too, that like they wanted to preserve the image of femininity, and that's why it was such a big fight, because we all know if it was any other variety of woman, this wouldn't have gone as far as it went. He would have been like, yeah, so this happened and I am suing you for defamation, and it wouldn't have turned into a circus because they would have been like, yep, all right, that's what it was. But they're trying to preserve the image of white femininity, and that's why she latched on to a movement about believing women. Like, I don't believe that women are defending her. I don't believe that women are holding her up. I think, just like what Sensi said, there's a lot of men trying to use this as they're trying to use this as what happens in the majority of situations, that like men are victims of these things, when that's just not true. And I really think it was a whole fiasco because, like I said, she was a milk maiden.
Wait, so let me ask you a question. You guys know who a rapper by the name of Tupac Shakur is?
Mm-hmm.
You know Tupac went to jail on a bum rap too, right?
Okay.
And that wasn't a white woman. And his case wasn't heard. His case wasn't heard at all.
Okay, but I'm saying that like this was such a fiasco, or it was such a big thing because they're trying to preserve the image of white femininity.
What, the media was trying to preserve the image of white femininity?
Yeah, I think so.
And so, wait, I want to make sure I got it. So they were trying to preserve it by protecting her. So they weren't protecting the Me Too movement, right? They were protecting Amber Heard, particularly not because she was tied to it, but they were just protecting her. It wasn't about protecting the rights of victims and believe all victims.
No, I don't think that it was ever about that, because you don't, well, I'm not saying you don't believe all women, but like, you know, in mass, like people don't believe women. Like this is a huge thing, that people don't believe women, and particularly Black and brown women, like indigenous women, like they just don't believe it, and it never gets this big, or it never gets this like bent out of shape when it's a woman like that. Because a lot of the
what do you think about the Meg case?
You're banned from talking about that. So do you really want me to say anything about that?
No, I'm interested because that's a big deal too. And she's a woman of color. What do you think that Meg is not getting treated fairly because she's a woman of color, or is she getting just about the same treatment?
Yes, I think 100%. She's not getting treated fairly because she's a woman of color. Now, I'm not going to go off and say that like I agree with everything that she's done in this situation, but like I'm going to say like how Meg was being treated after that whole thing happened, when there were other people in the car who could vouch for what happened. Like even after everything that she's done, like how Meg was being treated for that, like 100%, that's what I'm talking about.
It's an interesting thing, right? Because when I'm looking at this, like when I listen to the part about what Sensi said about in regards to like, look, they be lying. The thing that cracks me up about the situation is that, yeah, there are going to be men who are celebrating this because there are men who have been falsely accused. Now, the thing that cracks me up when we get to this is how that's kind of brushed under the rug, and it happens more often than not, but it's usually for the same thing that you're campaigning for, my sister. It's usually because it's a black or brown man and no one's trying to hear his story about how he's been placed in incarceration and been falsely accused. And I think that's something that a lot of men are celebrating, because it's like, hey, you just can't take someone's word for this. You have to validate it. And I think sometimes when we have these conversations in regards to men being falsely accused, you know why more men don't speak up on their false accusations? And this might be something that
toxic masculinity.
Wrong. It's because they won't be believed.
How are you gonna say wrong? Like that is, look, 100%. I believe that is because they won't be believed, and I'm not gonna take that away from men. But who is it important that it believes them?
Well, I think for the most part, it's important the men who've been falsely accused, that women believe them, because most of those men have mothers, they have sisters, they have siblings. Their life is augmented drastically after that accusation, and there's usually no coming back. Like to this date, right?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. Who are they reporting to? Who are they talking about these things to? Like, who is important that believes them in those situations, like when they're reporting?
Wait, rephrase your question, because it sounds like you're trying to say one thing, but it's coming out another way.
Oh, okay. I will try again. If a woman is beaten up on a man and he calls the police, and the police comes and brushes it off, and it's just like, oh, you're a man, you can't be beat up by a woman. Like,
but those are
he suffers for that.
Those are two different scenarios.
Are you gonna let me finish?
Well, if you're gonna get back to the scenario, yeah, because those are entirely two different scenarios. Because if we're talking about a man who's been falsely accused, it doesn't matter if he was beaten by a woman, because that doesn't have anything to do with him. We're talking about a man that's being accused of beating a woman. That doesn't have anything with toxic to do with it.
What I'm talking about is, like, men aren't believed because there's this idea of what a man should be in society, and if you don't measure up to that, or, like, you know, if you don't fit inside of that, then they're going to invalidate anything that you say. But the people who are doing that are other men.
So wait, hold on, because that doesn't hold water, because the man who's falsely accused, though it may be male officers that show up, if those officers show up to a scene where a woman is crying and has produced fake bruises, that doesn't have anything to do with toxic masculinity. That has to do with them believing someone making a claim. Their toxicity in that level is not being factored in. Cops show up, Beck says I hit her, they're taking me away whether I did it or not. And that's in every state. The best you can hope for as a man in that scenario is that they give you the opportunity to separate. But most law on books, state to state, is if the accusation is made, someone's going to jail that night. So that doesn't have to do with toxic masculinity. That has to do with a system that has already made a decision that, in my mind, is illegal if you're supposed to be proven guilty because you're innocent.
Okay. So maybe slow down a little bit for me, because maybe I'm a little slow. But in the situation where Bex produced fake bruises and said that you hit her, and they took you away because they thought that you did it based on what she said. I'm sorry, say what you said again after that.
Yeah. My point is, how could that be a result of toxic masculinity if they show up and that someone's making an accusation against you? So it's different if they show up and you're saying, since he's saying, hey, Bex beat the shit out of me, and they laugh it off like, well, go get a hotel room, fool. I could see how you can make the argument for that being toxic masculinity.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, but if the police show up and you're being accused of abuse and no one wants to hear your case, then that's not a result of toxic masculinity. That's a result of a system that just failed someone. Now, the numbers are not in, right? So I have to concede that. There are definitely way more cases on book of women being abused. No one can argue that point. But I think the men that aren't celebrating this are celebrating it because now if it does, and here comes this term, if it does set a legal precedent, even though it's hard to do with a defamation case, that you can't just categorically and uniformly just assume that this man did this, then that's what that's what these guys could be celebrating. I'm not saying there isn't a portion or even a large portion that just like get these bitches. Right. No, we got to acknowledge that those motherfuckers are animals, but there are men celebrating because they're like, hey, there might be a chance that I won't be falsely accused of something. Does that make sense?
I think that that's you and men like you, because in math, like the people who I've seen, like Sensi said, celebrating this trial were people who always wanted to be like women are liars. Women don't deserve this. Women don't deserve that. Like people who have on record said multiple derogatory things about women. So I'm not talking about men like you who are just like, oh, well, this sets a precedent for like a trial to be had and everything like this. I'm talking about the majority of people who are celebrating this case or who bring up this case, people who try to come to my live and throw this case in my face, this one case. And I'm not saying that to like diminish this one case, but like I will have stacks and stacks and stacks of statistics and numbers that say that women are abused in larger number and with men and things like that. I'll have various numbers, like case by case by case by case by case, statistic by statistic, and they will bring up this one case to invalidate everything that I've said. Like that's the majority of people using this case or celebrating this case, not people like you.
No, and I get what you're saying, right? You and I, we're not having an argument about that. We're not having an argument at all. What I do find interesting, and I want you guys to tap in on this, but is the culpability. So I heard someone, there was the worst news station on earth, one of the big three worst, MSNBC, was talking about how this case is helping to desensitize people to things that are going on. And a part of me wondered if that doesn't have so much to do with the fact that you leaned in so heavily to prove this particular woman right. And I've said from the beginning of this is not the woman I would hang the hat on. Like this is not the, this is not the one. This is not the look. And I'm wondering how you guys feel. Who failed here? Did Amber Heard dupe everyone into believing her? Or did people just jump on the bandwagon and now they got to deal with this public L?
When you say people leaned in so heavy, who are you talking about? You're talking about the media?
Yeah, I'm talking about the media. And I'm talking about people who, I'm talking about people that frequent some of my lives as well, or people who've made an excuse. It wasn't just the media. There are women that got behind Amber Heard who spoke out publicly for her before evidence started coming out. And I'm like, well, how could you be so sure if the evidence hasn't been presented yet? Like let's rewind back when she released those videos of the blood on the wall, right? It's a bad look. It looks like something crazy has happened in there. Now we know the crazy thing that happened in there was she severed this motherfucker's finger. But we assumed that Johnny was in there throwing rockets at her, and that just wasn't the case. So people leaned in, they jumped on it. Hollywood got behind it. He lost opportunities behind it. And then now we have this happen in public. It's tried in public. She didn't want it to be a public trial. And I think we all know why now, because her evidence was flimsy at best. Who was wrong here? Who was wrong for propping Amber Heard up?
White women.
What? Just white women?
Milk maidens, bro. Milk maidens. And like I get it. I truly do. I 100% do. Like when women say something, like you want to believe them, and you or as a woman at least, like when women say something, you want to believe them, you want to get behind them, because so few like this. And I'm gonna talk to women of color real quick and Black women. Like you really want to get behind them. You really want to speak for them because nobody ever speaks for you. Like nobody ever comes to your defense. And that's why I think that so many women are quick, fast, and in a hurry to get behind other women, because like they know what it feels like not to be believed, and they know what it feels like not to have somebody believe you and come to your rescue, especially when the statistics are so high on this. Like 97% of women are sexually harassed. Like when numbers like that are coming out and other women are validating it, so 100% of the time you want to be behind women, but you definitely can't underestimate the value of or not the value, but the effectiveness of white women tears and what historically they have been used for. And so like I don't want to say anytime a white woman has something to say, it gives me pause, or I wait a little bit, because I know that like even in my regular everyday life that they can be very manipulative. I just know that a lot of these issues are deeper than what they look like, and they lack intersectionality. And I feel like a lot of women jump behind her off rip because of their own experiences, you know?
No, I got you. What were you gonna say, Bex?
She said basically everything I was about to say. They saw a white blonde damsel in distress, so of course they got
Period.
behind. I expected nothing less from them.
Period.
I feel a lot of the same way, but I will also add to this. Before the case even, officially started, when a lot of the things were first coming out, we started learning more matter of factly about Johnny Depp and his addiction. So it wasn't that hard. And even to me, even with everything she said, it's not that hard to believe that he's an abusive person.
Mhm.
And that's just my opinion. Like I said, I can't take that to court and prove it. But we're talking about addiction to multiple drugs.
Right.
Even when his finger was severed by her, he did some weirdly abusive, mentally fucked up shit and started writing messages with his own blood. And to me, that literally screams you're psychotic. So, in my opinion, even though she didn't have the actual case she needed against him, it's not that unbelievable that Johnny Depp is abused. Or I mean is abusive. And just because he was abusive doesn't mean that he also wasn't getting abused. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, no, I get you. Go ahead, I get you.
So I mean, from that perspective, for me, I definitely feel what they were just saying, but like, it immediately came off as she was the person who was going to get the support, because before the case even started, he looked like he was out of his fucking mind.
Right. And
A lot of people, he's going to get back in movies. Obviously, I don't think, he said he'll never do Disney again. But another thing we did learn about Johnny Depp is that he was consistently late on shit. He did allow his drug addiction to get in the way of his creativity. He would come to shows without knowing what the hell he was supposed to do. So let's not entirely hold just his accusations as the reason why he might not get back in as quickly. He needs help, clearly. But we see this all the time with men. Go to professional sports and look at all these situations. The men, okay, Johnny Depp's not going to be on a movie for a year and a half. I bet you the next movie he's in, he makes $20 million off of.
Hey, can I pose a question to you really quick, my good brother? If a white man said what you just said in reverse to a woman about her erratic behavior and about how she was as a victim prior to the court case, would that hold water socially? Just think about what you said for a second there.
Nope, it sure the fuck wouldn't.
Like, just think about what you just said right there, because what you said essentially is that this person, it's not hard to believe that they were this way, even though it's been proven that they weren't that way. But it almost sounds like you're giving license to the fact of what she was doing. And that's the thing that women have been complaining about whenever they come up in court against these situations themselves. Take, for instance,
Right.
Bex was talking about we were talking about the three stages of how they monopolize the three wrong images of black women, right? And then you get the angry black woman, right? And it's always, well, she's angry, she was loud, she was boisterous, and then someone tries to slide something in, like she would jump up in his face. So I could see how he would, he would rat pack her out. You know what I'm saying? She had these behaviors, so it's not hard to believe why some of these things happen. And I think that's another reason why certain guys are celebrating, because yeah, he's a drug addict, no one can deny that. But are we now not forgetting that we shouldn't blame victims because it's Johnny Depp?
I go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead. No, I agree with what you're saying here. I do agree with your point on that. I'm just saying that if in any situation, there's going to be the court of public opinion.
Right.
Okay, so we're talking about the initial reaction, because what we do have the benefit of right now is all the fuckery came out that Amber Heard was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the very first instance, yes. And I would be very hard pressed for anybody to come up here and say, if you had to pick between someone you don't have yet proof that they're crazy versus someone you do have proof that's crazy, which side are you going to be on? When you say angry black woman, that's a stereotype. If she was extremely aggressive in the moment you saw her, that no longer becomes just a stereotype. You see aggression. There's a difference between stereotyping and what you actually have seen from a person.
Right. But we would make the same argument against this topic in regards to the way our brothers and sisters are treated by the police. Like, just because someone's ratchet, like take the young lady that was just shot 5 times by the cops in the Midwest. I think it was Missouri, right? I haven't seen that. I haven't seen all what's going on there, but you can't make the argument that her behavior is the reason that this happened, and we lacked evidence, because we on the other side of the table would say, hey, this cop isn't innocent because of his station. We can't just believe him because he's a cop. And that's my thing. Now, here's why I do agree with you guys 100%. I know for a fact right now, somewhere in some deep, dark room filled with beer bottles and empty cheese boxes and fucking histories of forums of nonsense, some fucking mouth breather is saying like, yeah, we won. And that's the sad part, right? And that's the sad part. But I would lay that blame at Amber Heard's feet, right? Because she's the one person that I know for a fact knew that she should not have tied herself to this movement. Or do you think, you know what I'm saying? Like, or you think I'm reaching, like, I hope I'm saying this correctly. Like, the only person that knew that the Me Too movement was being taken advantage of was Amber Heard.
Yeah.
In my estimation. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense to me. But again, I'm saying yeah to that because of the way everything unfolded. Like, it's all out there now.
You know what the craziest part about this whole thing is, man? I don't know. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think this will be as infamous as a trial as the OJ situation? Because socially, this thing, it just grew legs and it just kind of took off. Like, do you think this is going to be one of those public cases where people will be talking about it for years? Like, where were you when Johnny Depp won his defamation case?
Nah. No, not even close. I don't even think it's close.
In the same realm. Nah, it's not even on that level. Also, his son did it. Anyways,
allegedly.
Allegedly. Because we're not even going to talk about Selena and like how I think her father. Never mind. Because never mind.
There you go, trying to get me deplatformed again. Go ahead.
I think that the kind of image that you created behind the incel, it was funny, first of all. But second of all, like I think that a lot of people do that. They're just like, oh yeah, the fucking mouth breather who's in his mother's basement and da da da, and not like this is somebody you work with or like, you know,
True.
your next
True.
door neighbor and everything like that. So like, let's not do that. Let's not do that. I
No, it's true.
appreciate it. It was funny.
Yeah, but it is the upper echelon of men that are doing these things. And you know what? I'm just gonna speak. I want to make sure I'm clear on
I
one thing.
wasn't done, Steve. Jesus.
Oh shit, my bad. Well, I can't see your face, DaVinci. You and I have
I'm
talked
sorry.
about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that Amber preyed on women and their situations and what she knew the climate was for women in society. So I think that she preyed on women and their vulnerability in order to get the upper hand. And that's just my thoughts. I think the same way about Amber as I think about like women who hit men. You know what I mean? Like you know that in the majority of situations people are going to come to your aid if they see that man hit back. But you still hit them because you know that the majority of society will infantilize you or be like, oh, that poor woman and that poor, when you were the instigator of that situation. So I think that's why she gravitated toward the Me Too movement, because she wanted to exploit women who would identify with her off rip. I've talked about misandry in my lives before, where I tell other women that like I understand the validity of misandry, but I don't think that it's viable because you hate men and then what? And then what? What are you going to do now? Now that we've established that you hate men, like what's next? You know, I think that, huh?
I said that's a good point.
I just think that she preyed on a demographic of women who were already hurt and underserved and underbelieved. And like there are statistics to that effect. There are stories to that effect and cases to that effect over and over and over and over and over. So she preyed on them because she knew that society would infantilize her for it. And I don't want that to get lost in everything.
No, 100%. I just want to drive this home because I'm sitting up here with three black people. Just think about it. In our history, the only people to ever really come back from false accusations, but it wasn't without a piece of their soul, was the Central Park Five. And there are people still trying to prove that those brothers did it. To this day, there are think tanks still out there trying to prove that they're responsible for it. You know what I'm saying? It's always under question. And I just think that for me personally, you guys, I rely on you. Let me know if I'm wrong. I just think that there are two dangerous things that I see come out of this case right now, right? One, yes, it's going to galvanize people who were up to nefarious things to have a better argument the next time they're in court, if they actually do make it into court. And two, I think it deepens the wedge in the conversation, because ultimately what I would like to see here is like, I do want to see victims get justice, right? And I do want to see victims, find freedom, whatever that may look like for them. What I don't want to see is, I don't want us to keep going to a place in society where we just jump behind these things, man. And I think that in the words of Dave Chappelle, black people were strangely quiet on this situation. And just like with the Jussie Smollett thing, I think it was because we knew she was lying, right? And we knew, a lot of people didn't want to speak out, because who wants to be the person to be like, yo, you don't think it's funny that the only evidence of any abuse is from her, and people are still trying to spin this as if he did something? Like, and that's the thing I think that sucks for Johnny Depp. Like, obviously he's a millionaire. He's going to work again. I'm sure he'll get work. I hope he gets work again. I hope he gets help first and foremost. I hope he seeks help for substance abuse issues and any underlying mental health issues that may be causing his substance abuse. But I also hope that people will allow him to move on from this and will realize that, like, this ain't it. Like, this is not the thing you thought it was. Like, we're either going to accept the evidence, and what sucks about this is that it's only a defamation case. It's not a criminal proceeding, right? And she could still appeal this. But I hope that he gets to walk away from this not living under the stain of being an abuser. You know what I'm saying? Because that's something, if you earned it, then you earned it. But if you didn't, that's hard to come back from. Or am I off? Y'all let me know, man. I am 41 years old. Made it to another year. Thank you for donating, everyone that came through to the stream. What do y'all think?
I think that, like, it's interesting to look at this case because I think that in a lot of ways Johnny Depp is being treated like any other or a woman in this same situation for the first time, because like I don't think that I saw this like with Chris Brown. I don't think that I saw it with what's his face, the fucking what's
Football player?
No, the short king. He's not a king. Tory Lanez. I feel like they got to go on and like with their cases, like it was actually something that they did, and something that, like, you know, I feel like they deserve to be deplatformed for. Like they shouldn't have any following. You don't get to have a platform if this is the kind of person that you want to be. Like I think that in Johnny's case, like they're actually treating him like they treat women in this situation. Like I don't think it's going to be easy for him to come back, like, because a lot of the times I witness cases where like women speak out, but like where are they now? What happened to them after they told their story? Like they live on in infamy despite being innocent in those situations. And I'm not going to say that he's innocent, because I definitely think that he's manipulative, but I don't believe he deserved what happened to him. So like I think it's really interesting looking at him, because like I feel like he's going down like a lot of women have gone down. They told their stories.
Yeah.
And then what happened to them? Like kind of how you know, like Monica Lewinsky, like people utter, of course.
Yeah.
She tells her story, and then you know, even though it was two people in the situation doing wrong together, she was the one who lived forever in infamy.
Just like Marilyn Monroe. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Yeah. I ain't scared to fight all three of you. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna strengthen my position on this Meg thing, and you're gonna hear me the fuck out.
No.
My thing with the Meg, like, look, I could see it in Sissy's face, because he already knows what I'm saying. You play hood games, you get hood results. You know what I'm saying? And Meg played hood games, and she got a hood result. Now, people turned on Meg because you can't be beating your chest out here like Magilla Gorilla. I'm pistol whipping, I'm slapping, I don't, you know what I'm saying? And then this happens, and then you revert to, oh my goodness, I can't believe. I'm like, no, like, you hang out with, what do you think happens when you hang out with gorilla thugs? Like, what do you think? That's entirely different. Unless we're really finally willing to address street culture and all its proclivities.
Nah, because you're not gonna do that. Because three other people were in that car. You know.
You're not with me, Bex. We're not gonna talk about this hood shit. We ain't gonna keep it ratchet, Sizzy.
I mean, we can keep it ratchet if you want, like, but let's not act like there were other people in that car.
Listen, all I'm saying is, if Tory Lanez would have got shot in the foot, it wouldn't have been a big deal.
Why would
you know what? I concede to that.
It wouldn't have. It'd have been just been like, yo, he out there being a thug. That's what happens. You get shot in the foot sometimes. If Tory Lanez would have got shot in the foot,
I will concede to that, and that's a problem.
I'm waiting. You missed a great topic on breadcrumbing, DaVinci. I wish you were here for that because that was like the best part of this show.
Truly, you guys don't understand. I set 2 different devices on alarm for 5 minutes for an hour. So it was like 8:05, like 8:10, 8:15, 8:20, like on 2 separate devices on loud, and I still didn't wake up. So there was nothing. It was above me at this point. I was not waking up.
Oh, you missed it. Bex cursed me out. She was like, "Listen here, you old motherfucker."
You probably deserved it.
I'm just out here trying to be ratchet with my ratchet friends. Sometimes people get shot in the foot when you're doing ratchet shit. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when you're drinking Hennessy with your homegirl that's pregnant in the middle of the street and then make a video that gets 10 million views on it, sometimes someone gets shot in the foot.
Nobody was shot in the making.
You know what? Let's test that out. Let's drink Henny and eat watermelon by the pool and see if I shoot you in the foot, Steve. See if people care about that.
I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be with my white friends eating crumpets.
No, I made some fresh fried chicken. Come on.
If I want to let y'all know something. If we're ever in a social gathering and like this is how much I love the 3 of you, and you're drunk on Henny, and there's a possibility you're about to take a bite out of watermelon, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna save you from your own consequences. Like I will save you. No pictures, no nothing. I got you. Your boy Steve's got you. I'm gonna put my bow tie on.
You're the only one that's ashamed. I'll eat my watermelon by the pool.
And it's 90% water anyway, so it's rehydrating from the energy.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Like, I'm drunk off Henny and I'm trying to eat my watermelon. Are you gonna smack it out of my hand?
I'm Tyrone. Don't eat that watermelon.
Because then I'm really gonna get ratchet and upset.
Bex, you're 5'1". I'm just gonna pick you up and put you on the other side of the watermelon. I'm like, okay, little person, let's just. You're all tiny people. You think I'm gonna do something violent? I'm just gonna grab your little asses and be like, all right, let's go. And you're like, fuck you, Steve. And I'm like, no, all right, we'll go watch a movie when we get back. Make sure you guys get put down for your naps and stuff like that. And you'll be cursing me out. I'm like, okay, I'll talk to you later when you sober up, because I know I can't reason with the Hennessy monster. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't reason with the Hennessy.
Yeah. After that, I think D-Lo's right. I think Bex is going to be the one to shoot you.
Shoot you in the foot. Yeah.
And guess what? I'm not going to do. I ain't calling the cops on her.
Lies.
Oh yeah, and then nobody will believe you after the fact, you know.
Yeah, I'm not calling the cops. They're gonna be like, "What happened to your foot, Steve?" I'm like, "Oh, I tripped on a watermelon pill that sensitive."
He's gonna pull out the Bible though, and he's gonna read it to you. Bex.
Oh yeah, for the rest of your life, you will get. I guarantee you'll be coming to Bible study. Like anytime you're like, Steve, I don't want to be here. I'm like, well, I wanted my pinky toe, so I guess God worked it out in the way where we both benefit. And I'll sit down and get some of this Leviticus work.
Evangelism.
Oh my God.
Yo, you don't get mad at me because I'm the last man in America observing street rules. I'm just trying to remind y'all of the street rules. You don't
out of here. No.
And Bex knows what it is. You know, she spoke on it, the Jezebel spirit. I'm trying to save people out here. You guys,
please tell me we didn't reference Jezebel.
Oh, we referenced her.
Oh, do we want to talk about Jezebel? I'm so mad I missed that.
No, this was the other night we were talking about that shit.
Okay, because I got some things to say. Because people often reference Jezebel, but they don't actually talk about her.
So here's the thing, right? And in regards to the way people use scriptures, there's a quid per quo, right? The Jezebel spirit was referenced, and it was referenced in a certain way for people to be warned of. But it didn't excuse the people that they were trying to the key demographic they were trying to warn. And I think this is where my conversation goes with sex workers and the guys. I recognize that there's a chance that if a sex worker meets up with 5 people, the 5th person could be the one to take his or her life, right? There could be violence. My thing is, I want to deal with that issue on both sides of the table, and that could just be the clinician in me. Like, I will always see these things as, well, why do you feel the need to do this? What is the frequency in which you use this tool? Because if it's just like a once in a while thing, that's your business. I'm going to stay out of it. But if you're telling me that you seek this out over other forms of contact, that's a problem. And we wouldn't excuse that behavior from heroin addicts. And I think we give a pass to people on certain things, not knowing that we're sending them to their demise. You know, and that's just sound logic. You guys, you want to legalize it. I just want to know who's going to be making sure that people aren't spending their last dime on it.
The same people who are making sure that you don't spend your last dime gambling. Nobody, you know?
Exactly. And I'm trying to come at this thing with conscience. You know what I'm saying? You guys over here worried about Meg's dirty ass foot. I'm trying to save the world.
You can't have a conscience in capitalism because it only ever always descends into fascism. It's exploitive in nature, and it thrives off of somebody at the bottom. So you're never going to get this in a capitalistic society. If you want to talk about that, we can. So
that's what I'm talking about. Streets got to eat, so we can't be crying over Meg. You know, look at all the content creators that got millions off of that.
You're killing me. You're fucking killing me here.
Ain't no love in the streets. That's why I'm trying to get you in the church. Why you keep shaking your head? Since I'm trying to get them out these streets into a place. And I'm not talking. Don't go to Creflo Dollar's church. That's the one thing that as a Christian, always like. I remember I did this to my pastor. Right, I used to argue with this dude all the time before I got saved. And then one day I hit him up. I was like, man, I'm really starting to feel what you're saying. He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, the Bible, man. He's like, yeah, the Bible. And I'm like, yeah, man, Jesus. He's like, yeah, Jesus. I'm like, yeah, I want you to know I've been watching Joel Osteen every day. And he's like, wait, what? And I'm like, Joel Osteen. Right? I'm like, he's a Christian, right? He's good to go. And then we went from text messages to a call. I don't want you just to go to any church. I want you not to go to the church where they're touching people, hurting people. And I wish we would have talked about the Southern Baptist Convention, because there's a pastor by the name of Eric Mason. I want you to go look him up right now. He's the gentleman. I'm reading his book right now. He has been screaming about the corruption in the SBC for years. Black people have been screaming about the corruption in the SBC for years, and no one did anything. None of them.
What are they gonna do? Nobody can touch churches, bro. Like,
yes,
churches and no, they can't, because churches and arts are like the final frontiers of like I don't want to say money laundering,
of organized crime.
Yeah, of organized crime, because those are the last two things that aren't like heavily regulated, you know?
But here's the thing, like, we got to stop thinking of the Protestant church as the Catholic church, right? There is no self-governance. There shouldn't be when it comes to the Protestant church. That's why there was a schism, right? They didn't want to be under the authority of this totalitarian group. Here's how you fix the situation. Your church does not get to determine if you press charges. And if they're telling you that you should come see the pastor first, you need to call the cops first. Right? And that's the problem with this. That there is no authority that has been given to your pastor to dole over sexual assault. You need to call the cops. I hope someone hears me say this right now. If you're in a situation where you're in physical danger, or you've been, I can't say the word, but if you're in a church that's saying that you need to meet with your small group first, call the police.
Period. And I'm gonna keep it a $1.98 because I don't need your 2 cents. But like,
That was good. I'll let you slide on that one.
You'll let me, please. I'm a god. Anyways, capital G, because I already know what you were about to say. Like with these churches, because I don't know if you've seen. Did I post that video in our little chat? Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the video that's been making its rounds on TikTok of that that pastor who got up in front of his church and was just like, yeah, I'm stepping down because, or I've sinned because I've committed adultery. And the girl that he slept with when she was a minor was just like, this wasn't just some accident. You did this for a long time and you made people not believe me. And like, at the end of what he had to say, there were people who were coming up and applauding him and were like, oh, we have to pray for him. And like, I just think that there's a culture inside of a lot of churches, where it's just like, oh, well, our government doesn't reflect our beliefs, so we have to be like our own government in a way.
No, you're not wrong about this. Cynthia and I were talking about this one night, and this is what's the problem with not the problem. I want to choose my words carefully. This is a problem that's presented when a church has elders and it's this closed circuit, closed meeting thing, and that's why I just want to put the information out. I know we're well over and we got to end, but I just want to put it out there for anyone, whether you be a Muslim, Jehovah's Witness, Christian, Catholic, whatever. I can tell you that 100%, if something's happening, you go to the police first. Grace Church in California is dealing with a situation like this where the mother, it was a husband and a wife, and the husband is basically an elder in the church, or he works for the church in some official capacity, and I thought he was abusing the wife, and in that I was like, call the cops. Why wasn't the cops called like the first time to deal with it, right? Or just to bring light to it. But it turns out he was abusing the children. They sent them to Christian counseling. No, that's not the way this is handled. You call the police, right? And that's the way these things are supposed to be handled in a good, orderly fashion. I speak out against that stuff because I don't want to be a part of anything like that. And I don't want people to believe that, your salvation is in question because you call the cops because someone has harmed you. That's just not true. I don't believe that any more than I believe, the colonizers that used the Bible to subjugate black people. You can't. Malcolm X famously said, if America was a Christian country, then there would not have been any slavery. And he said that for a reason, because if you were practicing the actual ideals of it, you could not have done that. You would not treat people that way. You could not do those things. You couldn't. A lot of people point wrongly to like the indentured servitude that they see in the Bible and the Old Testament as the same thing as chattel slavery, but it's entirely different because, and DaVinci and I talked about this, it clearly says in the Old Testament that if a person is forcibly stolen, the person that stole that person should be put to death. Obviously, that's going to be kept out of the hands of slaves because they don't want an uprising. And this is the thing that happens with Christianity all too often. People misuse the trust that's given to them as a pastor, and they think they're going to get away with it. But there's a scripture that deals with that directly. You're held to a standard as a leader in a church. And I know maybe the panel doesn't believe this, but if you don't get your justice here on earth, you will get it. And if you're abusing that power, you will feel wrath at some point. So I'll close on that one. And I think the only thing that was established tonight is that Cincy, Star, and Bex, both breadcrumb people, and they're horrible people for doing it.
I'm mad I missed that.
I thought we were growing and healing. Isn't that what we're doing?
No, I've healed. I'm waiting for the people. I'm not doing any more healing. Since you want to get us the hell out of here, man, before your eyes roll all the way to the back of your head.
Yeah. All right. No, it's on you tonight.
Another episode of Dope Dynamics, 2 hours and 57 minutes. And we appreciate you guys for sticking around, those of you that are still here. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Coming up this week, we got Power Love Latinas tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Spoon. Directly afterwards, Request Box Live. And then Friday, we got Enough Said Radio at 9 p.m. And then Booty Papa Chicken Friday nights at 11 p.m. And then I'll see you guys with DaVinci on Sunday for, I guess we can agree on that. And don't forget, Attune Accolades podcast on Wednesdays. It's in the afternoon, so Drop through, show Joey some love. Peace.